is a live presentation of CBC Sports.
BC Place, where tonight the Lions, who have targeted second place in the West, entertain the Hamilton Ticats, who hold the same position in the East. 1 week ago tonight, Dave Ritchie's team registered a single-point win. Only 5 nights ago, John Gregory's team won a close one. Teams are often inspired to greater heights by winning such games, games that test nerve and character. At Frank Clair Stadium, Danny Barrett came off the bench to pull it out for the Lions in the final minute.
Barrett the shotgun. Big rush by Ottawa. Danny throws complete out to the flat for Barrett, floating to the 35, to the 30, to the 25, and out of bounds. He stopped the clock again at the Ottawa 23. Barrett goes to the shotgun, sets up to throw, goes to the end zone, to the 5, to Alexander, puts his head down, back to the 1. Millington and Bill Potter in the backfield, they split. Barrett calls his signals, keeps himself. Touchdown!
In similar fashion, the Ticats beat Toronto, rewarding their fans at Ivor Wynne Stadium the way they usually do on Labor Day.
First is back to pass now. He runs away from pressure to the 50, to the 55, to the 40, and he's tripped up inside the 50-yard line where they mark the football. There we go. McPherson back to pass, looking downfield. Gets away from the pressure, throws. It's caught by Whitfield at the 36-yard line. He's tackled right away. And Oz do it again. Mike Jovanovic over the ball at the 36-yard line. Todd Wise with the hold on the hash mark. The snap, the kick, it's up! It's good!
And now the Ticats have come west, hoping to build on their win as the Lions hope to build on theirs.
The CFL on CBC. Tonight, from BC Place Stadium in Vancouver, the Hamilton Tiger Cats against the BC Lions.
In the heart of Vancouver, welcome to BC Place, home to the comeback team of this CFL season. And look out, everybody, it's paper airplane night in here. Anybody wearing a CBC jacket could be an inviting target. Well, don't the Lions provide proof that an ailing CFL franchise can recover? A year ago at this time, they were ownerless and stumbling their way through a 3-15 season. Now the beneficiaries of solid ownership, progressive coaching and management, the Lions are 7-3. Danny Barrett's had a lot to do with that record, and the Lions are happy to say that he's over the effects of a finger in the eye in Ottawa last week. Depth perception was a problem for a while, is not now, and that could be a problem for the Ticats. They're staying with Don McPherson as their starting quarterback, and why wouldn't they, after he helped get them their first win in a month and a half last week. McPherson's first ever CFL start was here at BC Place just over 2 years ago. He won it, and if he can win tonight, the Ticats will be nicely on the road to recovery from that 6-game skid. But having said all that, the dominant players in this game could be on the other side of the ball, the defense. And to talk some more about that, here are Don Whitman and Dan Kepley.
Thanks, Scott. Hi, everybody. Yes, Danny Barrett and Don McPherson may have engineered final drives that led to the winning points, but a couple of defensive stalwarts stood out last weekend. O.J. Brigance, the league leader in sacks with 14, was a key part of that BC goal line stand against Ottawa.
Well, it certainly does bring a warm spark to my heart when you see defense and particularly linebacking play the way that this guy can play. The sake really for him was the move from the inside linebacker to the outside linebacker. He's become a very integral part as far as a pass rusher and a sacker, but he can really play a true linebacker. He's got the speed and the ability to cover man for man and play zone defense.
Reggie Slack of the Toronto Argonauts probably felt that number 55, Tim Cofield, was wearing a Toronto uniform. He spent so much time in the Argo backfield, he actually tied a league record with 5 sacks.
Well, big 5 sacks that he did. 6'3", 245 pounds, an NFL strongman in 1988. Came in, he's from Elizabeth City State. As a matter of fact, I spoke with him yesterday before the press conference. He's from the same area, the hometown in Carolina that I am. And he's looking for a big game, isn't he?
Well, both the BC Lions and the Hamilton Ticats hope their defense can do a big job in tonight's game here at BC Place Stadium. Scott?
In BC Place, it's always perfect for football, more so for the home team this season. Lions are an impressive 4-1 here, beaten only by the Stampeders. Ticats will try to become the second team to do it as we head to kickoff.
Since the construction of BC Place Stadium, weather is no longer a factor in football games on the West Coast, but conditions have been ideal for the past few days. It's a beautiful Saturday evening here in Vancouver, and it would be even better for Dave Ritchie if his team could knock off the Hamilton Ticats tonight. Ritchie's team survived an error-filled game last week against the Ottawa Rough Riders to post a victory, and John Gregory saw his team come back in the final seconds to post a win over the Toronto Argonauts and thus end a 6-game losing streak. He feels that perhaps some of the lost confidence has been restored to his Ticats as a result of that win.
Well, they certainly have seemed to get the monkey off their back. But again, that was last week, and they know that they have to come in here and really perform well against the BC Lions. They certainly had an opportunity to do that over the past few years, particularly the first start that McPherson ever had was against the BC Lions here in '91.
Lou Pasaglia kicks it off. The ball bounces to Cornell Burbage. It looked as though Wright was going to field it initially. Burbage lost control of the ball. It went out of bounds. He was the last player to touch it, and the Ticats will scrimmage 1st and 10 from the 32. Don McPherson made his starting debut as a Ticat against the BC Lions in the final home game of the 1991 season, and his performance that night knocked BC out of a first-place finish in the CFL Western Division. So he has some fond remembrances of his previous visits to BC Place Stadium. Handoff inside to Perkins, and Perkins finds a big hole. What a way to start a football game as Perkins lugs it down to the BC 36. Taken out of bounds by safety Tom Europe. A gallop of 42 yards. One of the 5 100-yard rushing games this year in the CFL belongs to Bruce Perkins.
Coach Gregory talked about trying to get the ball into this kid's hands and then all of a sudden handing it to him deep so that he's got enough vision down the field that he can find that little creek, that little crack that he can slide through, get that offensive line body on body, and then let this guy carry the mail. Does a good job that first play.
Lee Knight, the ball carrier, he's returned to the lineup of the Ticats with an injury last week to Paul Bushy, and Knight has had a huge cast that was in his hand reduced in size. That's basically the only change the Hamilton Ticats have made since their 23-21 victory over the Toronto Argonauts on Labor Day. Only 2 days of practice, really, for Hamilton to get ready for this West Coast trip. McPherson, but McPherson is caught from behind. He managed to get the pass away. Glenn Scribner made the tackle, but it came just as McPherson threw the football. They call this the nationality defense. They rotate 4 Canadians up front, and they have 4 imports playing the linebacking position, and Glenn Scribner is a key performer in the 3-4 defense of the BC Lions. Paul Osbaldiston, who kicked the winning field goal from almost the same distance against the Toronto Argonauts, will attempt to split the uprights from 41 yards away, but it's wide. He has had all sorts of difficulty this year from outside the 40-yard line. He's only been good on 3 attempts from outside the 40, but an important attempt last week, a 42-yarder in the final seconds to win it against the Toronto Argonauts. So his kick sails wide for a single point.
Well, it's important in that sense that it came up, they started with a big play with Perkins being able to carry the ball. It shows that they can move the ball against this BC defense, at least the first series, at least when you get down the field to come away with something. Hamilton is actually 4-0 when they have scored first, even if it's a single point. So hopefully that for them, that record will hold intact.
Ticats won 3, then lost 6 before beating Toronto last week. Danny Barrett, injured early in the game against Ottawa, came in the final minutes to engineer a winning drive. Corey Philpott trying to get to the outside, and Philpott dives up to the 40-yard line. Barrett has put together some rather impressive statistics this year. He has thrown 17 touchdown passes. And the most important statistic, I think, is the last one, Dan. He's only been intercepted 7 times.
Well, that shows you the great experience of this guy. He has tremendous ability of reading defenses. And if the defense is there and he's not going to try to throw the interception, he's going to throw it away rather than throw it into a crowd and get it picked off.
And, of course, he had the league record 601 passing yards against the Toronto Argonauts. Barrett on second down tried to lob it out to Philpott. It was over his head. So the Hamilton Ticap defensive unit has done its job, and the BC Lions will be forced to kick it away. A much trimmer Danny Barrett than the individual who performed for the BC Lions last year. Over the offseason, he shed about 15 to 20 pounds.
Roy Hart in on him right at the last minute and just letting him know that he's around in the vicinity as Danny Barrett lets go of the ball. That's just going to be the real key matchup here, is this very experienced offensive line of the BC Lions against a really tenacious defense, the front seven of Hamilton.
Lou Pasaglia has the lowest punting average among CFL kickers this year, a 39.9-yard average. But many of his kicks have been placed, hitting them towards the sidelines, as he has done here. A penalty flag at the midfield stripe as the ball goes out of bounds at the 31. We'll sort it out for you when we return. That's the view from the other side of Falls Creek early on this Saturday evening in Vancouver. And inside the Dome, the Hamilton Ticats lead the BC Lions 1-0. A 38-yard punt by Lou Pasaglia. A holding call moved the Ticats 10 yards back, so it's now 1st and 10 Hamilton. They are at their own 21-yard line. McPherson fakes. Throws over the middle, intended for Kenneth Ware. It was almost picked off by Bruce Plummer. O.J. Brigance is the league leader in sacks with 14. And the BC Lions are attempting to have a decision made on a couple of other sacks they claim he should have been credited with. But he is the key man in a solid linebacking core. If there is an Achilles heel with the BC Lions, it may be in the secondary.
Maybe, particularly at the youth and the safety and the two halfbacks.
Winfield, the receiver, making the catch on the sidelines. Forced out of bounds by safety Tom Europe. He battled Andre Francis for the ball, and Earl Winfield, number 3 in combined yards in the CFL, hauls in a 57-yard pass reception from Don McPherson.
He battled him pretty good, and then Earl, being the veteran that he is, there's two really key KG veterans going about each other. And right at the last minute, here's a push right there. Gives it, and he just pushes Andre away from him, creates the separation, then he's able to make the big reception. Should have been a flag on that one.
It's been a while since Don McPherson has put the ball into the hands of a player on a pass into the end zone. He has not thrown a touchdown pass since the 16th of July. McPherson at his best when he rolls out, throws to the sidelines intended for Mazzoli. It's incomplete. McPherson actually lost his starting job for 2 games. Both losses, by the way, by the Ticats to the Edmonton Eskimos and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Bob Torrance took over on the 25th of August and the 28th of August in a western swing for the Ticats. But McPherson was back at the controls against Toronto on Labor Day.
McPherson will have a lot of problems throwing the ball as long as this BC's defense is able to push it right up the gut and force him to have to rush out. And then that cuts the field down, and his vision is that he's only seeing from the side. He's not seeing the whole field.
He sees Kenneth Ware, and he's got it at the 2-yard line. 2 fine catches by Winfield and then of Ware to set things up. The return of Ware to the slot back position has really helped the Hamilton offense.
Well, it certainly has. It's taken a lot of heat off of that whole receiving core itself and give him a very key person to throw to. The ankle injury that kept him out for 2 weeks, get him back in there, and then McPherson knows right now, being the guy that he is, you go to him early.
The Wilfrid Laurier product takes it down to the 2-yard line. It's 1st and goal for the Hamilton Ticats. McPherson gives to Lee Knight. He stopped on his first attempt of getting in. and he's driven back by O.J. Brigance. You'll recall, if you watched our telecast from Frank Clair Stadium on Saturday night, early in the game, the Ottawa Rough Riders had a 1st and goal at the BC1, and they were stopped on 3 tries at putting it in the end zone, all quarterback sneak attempts by Tom Burgess.
This is a defense with an attitude. You come in there and you challenge them man on man. You may lose this battle against the BC, but you're going to have to do something a little to counter it, to offset this attack that they have.
McPherson on the option. He's going to be tackled by Brigance back at the 8. O.J. Brigance has really developed into one of the dominant defensive players in the CFL.
He certainly has. Just get that he and Lee Knight, and he keeps a good outside position, good pursuit angle. He's not going to get sucked inside. That doesn't allow McPherson to be able to break the containment. Then he just strings him out. This is a very, very speed defense, and these guys, once they string you out like that, the pursuit can get in there to make a good tackle. Brigance did a heck of a job there.
Well, we talked about Osbaldiston's problems from outside the 40-yard line. He's been almost flawless from inside the 40, and he increases the Hamilton advantage to 4-0 with 8:44 remaining in the opening quarter. But John Gregory isn't going to be happy that they had to kick a field goal when they were 1st and goal from the 2.
Well, he's certainly not, and he shouldn't be happy with that. But the fact is, he did come away with something there, as opposed to having the ball turned over on downs or even causing a fumble. So there's 2 possessions going down the field, and they come away with points both times. Again, a big momentum building for the Hamilton.
And as you pointed out, Dan, a good omen for the Ticats. In the 4 games they have won this year, they have scored first. But the Hamilton Ticats this year are the lowest scoring team in the CFL. They have only put 161 points on the board. That's an average of 16.1 points per game.
And on the other side of the ball, the worst thing is that they've given up. Their opponents have scored almost 40 points, 39.9 points per game.
Only Toronto has had more points scored against than the Hamilton Ticats. Corey Philpott starts out from the 15-yard line looking for a seam up the middle. Then he runs into traffic at about the 35. Good hit put on him by John Moten, the middle linebacker. Down to wears number 42.
20 yards on the return. 1st and 10.
Danny Barrett has a talented group of receivers to throw to, and this is an identical BC lineup to the one that scored a 1-point victory last Saturday night over the Ottawa Rough Riders. As a matter of fact, John Gregory paid tribute to the offensive line, said it might be the best in the league.
As arguably so, could be the best and the most experienced as a unit offensive line in this league.
Philpott has a gain of about 6, maybe 7 yards. His speed is the thing that really excites the BC coaching staff. Once he gets into open field, he's got the ability to take it all the way.
He's got tremendous leg drive there. He's not a big fella. He's 5'9", 186 pounds. He's out of Mississippi, and he just keeps his legs working extremely hard, and he's got tremendous quickness. He performed extremely well in the backfield, but also on the special teams, in the return yardage that he gets in punts and kickoff.
He's the only player to return a kickoff for a touchdown this year. He had a 91-yard run back. Mike Trevathan makes the catch for a 1st down at the 50-yard line. John Moten, the middle linebacker, was there to make the tackle.
Danny Barrett gets to Mike Trevathan for an 8-yard gain.
While the BC Lions employ a 3-4 defense, the Hamilton Ticats have a 4-3 setup. And rookie Michael O'Shea has really impressed with his play at an outside linebacking position.
Well, he's came in and really made himself established. He's second in tackles on this Hamilton team. He's got 46 tackles already, and he's just a rookie, as you say. Whit, he's really learning and come along very well.
Darren Flutie was caught immediately by Tim Jackson, and there'll be a loss of a couple of yards on this. The Lions thought that they might be able to employ this hitch screen with some success against Hamilton.
Well, it's the key thing is to get the one block on the halfback on the inside, and you can see there's where Jackson is coming from. That block wasn't made. That's where Jackson showed some great speed as far as being able to pursue, get up, break down, and then make that tackle behind the line of scrimmage.
2nd and 12, 6:35 remaining in the opening quarter. It's 4-0, Hamilton leading BC. Barrett's pass over the middle is deflected and then caught. Ray Alexander alertly dove for the deflection. Terry Wright, I think, got a hand on it, and the ball went into the hands of Ray Alexander.
Well, as I talked about Danny earlier, he doesn't throw the ball in the crowds, but here he goes. He throws it right in the middle of a big crowd of Hamilton defenders. The ball gets tipped, but Ray Alexander with keen concentration. That is Terry Wright. He gets his hands up really high, but Ray concentrates on the ball, looks it in, cups his hands underneath, makes a big reception.
Take receptions any way you get them.
You got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good, and it'll work anyway with these guys today.
Here comes the halfback blitz. The pass is complete on the far side of the field, and Alexander is taken out of bounds by Lonnie Finch. Ricky Royal was coming on a halfback blitz, putting pressure on Danny Barrett, but he was able to unload just in time.
To his credit, just coming right, and Danny's got full vision of this guy coming in to hit him. And all of a sudden, he stands right in the pocket, delivers the ball out of the money, and he takes the hit. A real pro right there.
Coach Ritchie was complaining that he felt his quarterback should be afforded the same protection that officials give other CFL quarterbacks, and he offered a broken helmet as proof that Barrett took a pounding last week against Ottawa. Sean Millington takes the ball down to the 21-yard line, a gain of 17 yards.
Easy little screen play there. One of the plays that they had a lot of success against Toronto when Danny threw the ball for over 600 yards. Just dumps it off. Sean makes a good block on the outside end, then lets him go, then dumps the ball off. Makes a good effort to get the ball downfield.
First and 10 BC. The ball is at the 22 of the Ticats. Draw play with Philpott, and Philpott is stopped at the 20-yard line by Ramel Andrews.
Simple inside counter play. Vic Stevenson is pulling way ahead of him. He's got plenty of room, but Philpott, for whatever reason, decides to cut it back inside the greens where the pursuit's going. If not, all he had to do was jump on the wagon right behind that big offensive tackle, and they had plenty of room to run around the right end.
This drive started at the BC 34. With the benefit of that deflected pass, they are in scoring position as Clark hauls in the throw from Barrett, very close to a first down, tackled by Ricky Royal. It's close enough for a measurement. Well, as you said, sometimes you have to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good, and it's been a combination of both for the BC Lions on this drive. They got the break when Ray Alexander grabbed the deflected pass by Terry Wright, but they've been able to keep it going.
Hamilton, if they're going to play the zone defense behind that, they really are putting a lot of pressure on the front four guys to get some heat on Danny Barrett and make him throw the ball off balance or throw it a little quicker than he normally would like to do. They can't give him a lot of time and have those receivers come downfield and just float in and out and find the open zone.
Four receivers to the left. Barrett throws that way to Philpott coming out of the backfield. He's out of bounds at the 4. Forced out by Tim Jackson. A premature firing of the firecrackers. They have to celebrate a touchdown. He got to the end zone, but he did step out of bounds at about the 4.
Danny Barrett looks downfield, sees the zone taking place, then he comes out and Tim Jackson comes up. You just need to make that tap. You got to wrap your arms around him, but Philpott again shows some of that upper body strength that he has, being able to shake off that tackle, turn the ball upfield.
On second down, Philpott this time will get to the end zone. Well, that's the type of drive that makes a coach happy, as the BC Lions are able to put it together and take it all the way to the end zone.
Well, they get a big break on that tip ball that Alexander catches earlier, but then after that, they go back to some of the things that they have done really, really well over the course of this season. And again, running the ball with this kid in the backfield, Philpott behind Vic Stevenson and Rob Smith on that side, creates a big hole.
Lou Pasaglia, who hasn't missed a point after since 1983, makes it a A 7-4 game with 2:40 remaining in the opening quarter.
Last week at Frank Clair Stadium, Danny Barrett at quarterback for the BC Lions. He was tackled by Glenn Kulka, and Kulka accidentally stuck his finger in Barrett's eye. No one disputes the fact it was accidental, but it was a sounding off point for head coach Dave Ritchie, who yesterday at the pregame press conferences was brandishing Danny Barrett's face mask around. You may be able to see on this side, it's bent. These are pretty sturdy things, and it being bent means there was some pretty heavy contact. And Dave Ritchie's upset. He says his quarterback, Don, doesn't get the same kind of protection that other quarterbacks the league overdo.
That's really what had Dave Ritchie riled yesterday at the pregame press conference. Nick Mazzoli is the man who attempted the return and only brought it back 7 yards before being tackled by Michael Allen. And what we just witnessed, one of the differences between Hamilton and BC this year, Danny, in that BC is able to sustain drives. Hamilton has had them fizzle out.
That was the two biggest problems that Coach Gregory had talked about yesterday. One was the completion percentage of McPherson, or his quarterback. The other was the lack of making first down and being able to keep possession drives alive.
And they also felt that they would be able to run the ball against the BC Lions, and Perkins started off with a 42-yard gallop. Perkins carried again and picks up 6, so it's 2nd and 4 for the Hamilton Ticats. Perkins ran for 102 yards on the 25th of August against the Edmonton Eskimos. McPherson's in trouble. He's dropped for a loss by James West. You know, you talk about linebackers. This man is one tough customer. He played a couple of games with a broken thumb in his right hand. He had to have a pin inserted. He played last week with a broken bone in the back of his left hand. Refused to go for x-rays, had it taped up, and still hasn't had much done to his left hand.
Well, he certainly is a credit to his position in any case. Anytime that the BC Lions are going to come with that much heat, McPherson, and even as young as the quarterback he is, knows that he has to get rid of the ball quickly. He can't stand back there. If he does, then the same result will happen. BC will swarm him.
Philpott has no opportunity for a return as it goes out of bounds at the 31-yard line with 1:28 remaining in the quarter.
Big news at a Commonwealth Stadium last night. First, there were 53,000 fans there. Second, Calgary's perfect season came to an end. That touchdown by Lucius Floyd put it out of reach for the Stampeders. So the desired result for the CFL's biggest crowd of the year. Eskimos, the first team in 2 months to stop Doug Flutie. They're 7-4, which means the Lions have to win here tonight to take sole possession of second place, or stay there, I should say, Don. And the Stampeders at 10-1, with all the talk of that perfect record out of the way, can now get on with the rest of the season.
Well, Ron Lancaster and the Eskimos were extremely happy that they were able to put an end to that streak as Mike Trevathan hauls in the pass and takes it to the midfield stripe. But Dave Ritchie and the BC Lions were excited as well because they play the Calgary Stampeders next week, and they still think they might have a shot at overhauling Calgary for first place in the West.
Well, absolutely. I think the biggest thing that they were excited about is first that they knew that somebody could actually touch and beat up on Doug Flutie a little bit during the game, as Edmonton did. And again, that now the pressure is off of Calgary. That's the big thing for Calgary. The pressure is off as far as the unbeaten season goes. So now maybe they can settle down and start playing real serious ball and have that weight lifted.
Trevathan with a 24-yard gain and Philpott with about a 2-yard gain before being forced out of bounds by John Moten. 30 seconds remaining in the opening quarter here at BC Place Stadium.
Good toss, trying to get that speed of Philpott outside, but here comes the speed. John Moten, middle linebacker out of Akron, is just tremendous. He's been having an excellent year. He is right now second on team tackles with 49. He's got 1 interception. He's very active in that middle linebacker spot.
Philpott goes out, a 5-receiver set for the BC Lions as Lonnie Turner comes into the ball game. Barrett operating out of the shotgun, pressured, throws deep over the head of Lonnie Turner. Hart got through and dumped Danny Barrett as he attempted to go to the end zone to Lonnie Turner.
Well, they tried to bring Lonnie Turner, and they went with their 5-pack, what they're calling it, 5 receivers, 3 to the wide side, 2 to the short side. and they're just trying to use that great speed of Lonnie Turner to get it downfield and throw it deep. But Hart's not going to have anything to do with that. Gets rid of his block very quickly and able to get up in Danny Barrett's face.
You know, they talk about quarterbacks missing receivers. I admire the courage of a quarterback standing in there when he's so vulnerable with that arm cocked, knowing he's going to take a hit, but waiting to the last minute to throw.
And especially in the sense when they've got their head turned and they're looking in the opposite way, and they know that pressure is going to come, but they're going to stand in there and do their job and try to deliver the ball on the money.
But I think that time Barrett could see Hart coming up the middle. He knew he was going to get pounded.
If he couldn't, he could feel the ground quiver underneath him because that's a big man.
I talked about Lou Pasaglia not having a great average this year, but he's been very accurate in attempting to angle the ball out of bounds. And that time he also got the distance, a 50-yard kick, putting it out at the 1-yard line. And that's the end of the opening quarter. It's a picture postcard Saturday evening here on the West Coast as the BC Lions lead the Cats from Hamilton 7-4 as we prepare to start the second quarter, and Hamilton is backed up to its own 1-yard line after a 50-yard kick by Lou Pasaglia. McPherson throws quickly to the sidelines. Winfield goes out of bounds with a gain of about 7, taken out by Andre Francis. Statistically, a couple of big plays early for the Ticats. A 42-yard run by Perkins and a 57-yard pass to Earl Winfield account for most of the 127 net yards of the Tabbies. Unfortunately for John Gregory's team, they were unable to put it into the end zone. On second down, pressure was coming, and there's a penalty flag on the play. Earl Winfield may have been impeded as he attempted to get into his pattern by Andre Francis. They've been having an interesting battle since the start of the game.
We may have offensive pass interference. That's what I was just going to say. They came down there, and it looked like Ken Aver came out of his slot position and did a pick.
Offensive forward pass interference. Number 17 on the offense. The penalty is declined. It's third down.
You're absolutely right, Dan.
Trying to pick that up, you have the inside slot at Rare come out and just kind of give a little rub like he's going to run a wheel pattern, which is kind of an out and up pattern. And then the outside guy breaks right underneath him, creates a separation from the cornerback, and that's when McPherson was trying to hit Earl Winfield, but actually they called it on the spot.
Osbaldiston stands in the end zone for this third down punt. His average has been 40 yards a kick this year. Lonnie Turner takes it on the dead run, draws a penalty flag in the process. I think he had someone trapped within that 5-yard restraining area as he kind of hesitated for a moment before hitting that ball on the dead run for a 19-yard return.
Real exciting player here. I can remember being in Los Angeles, the LA Express in 1983 one time. I was driving by and I went to see Coach Campbell at that time, who was coaching the LA Express. This kid was returning punts for him down there. He's got tremendous speed, great concentration, and he has been a real burner and been a real find for the BC Lions.
First and 10 BC from the 22-yard line. The Lions lead it by a score of 7-4. Next Saturday night, they travel to McMahon Stadium to take on the Stampeders. Pass is batted down at the line of scrimmage. Roy Hart appeared to get his hand up and deflect the ball as Barrett was looking towards the sidelines to Alexander.
Danny came up to the line of scrimmage, and it was slow developing, and he called an audible right at the line of scrimmage, saw something that he liked, wanted to go to the outside pattern to Ray Alexander, threw the ball on the line, but Roy Hart was having nothing to do it, got his hands up real high, able to knock the pass down.
Caulfield was picked up, the pass complete to Trevathan. Tim Caulfield, who tied a league record with 5 sacks against Toronto, was picked up as he thought he had a clean shot at Danny Barrett.
As I said earlier, if you're going to play the zone behind that, you have to get some pressure on him. That's a completion of 19 yards on that play.
First and goal. The ball is at the 3-yard line. Three receivers wide left. Handoff to Philpott, his second touchdown of the game. On both touchdown runs, Philpott has had a big hole to run through.
What happens when you get that Hamilton defense all up on the line of scrimmage at one time? All you have to do is break the plane, find an opening seam, and up front, Ian Sinclair, Leo Groenwegen did a great job coming off of the right-hand side. Just gives it to him, and he's got tremendous burst of speed to be able to get it through the hole and in the end zone.
Once again, Bisaglia adds the extra point on a Corey Philpott touchdown. We'll be back with the BC kickoff.
Yeah, the guys are blocking well. You know, they're making the right block.
Corey Philpott with his second touchdown of the game. Coach Ritchie was saying that Philpott's kickoff return, providing the Lions with excellent field position last Saturday night against Ottawa, was a key in setting up their winning drive.
Well, it certainly is. As I said, he's been very instrumental, not only in the return capacity, but then once they put him in and used him in the backfield, not only his pass receiving, but his ability to carry the mail has just really highlighted.
Burbage trying to get to the outside. He's forced to cut it back to the middle, and he's stopped at the 30-yard line. There's also a penalty flag on the play, a 57-yard kick, a 12-yard return. Spencer McLennan, who leads the Lions in special team tackles, was downfield to make the stop.
Probably offsides against BC.
Offside number 26 on the kicking team will re-kick.
Well, Don, as Earl Winfield and Andre Francis head onto the field, watch the matchup between them. You may recall that Winfield had a big gain, a big catch in the first quarter that led to Osbaldiston's field goal. Francis said that Winfield pushed off him to make that reception. There's a running battle between the two of them. Francis says that the Hamilton receivers, in particular Winfield, have a habit of pushing off, and he says he's going to have to start pushing back to see if it gets called. And, of course, there was a flag earlier on Kennebrere.
And there was a flag on Michael Allen on the kickoff, which will take the ball back to the 30-yard line. Bisaglia angling it to the sidelines. It's going to go out of bounds. So they'll do it again from 5 yards further back.
This makes it really tough on that coverage team. That's 2 times that they've gone from straight zero to maybe a 40 or 50-yard sprint. They've got to be a little tired. Hamilton will be very aware of that. So they should have a good opportunity to get a good kickoff return here.
Bisaglia now kicking off from his own 5-yard line. The BC Lions with a record of 7-3. And Coach Ritchie was saying that the team is ahead of where he had projected it would be at this stage of the season.
I think he's very happy with the progression that they've made. He certainly is not contented and willing to rest on his laurels, but a sense that they're improving and they're striving every week and getting better and better in the key positions.
At this same time last year, the Lions had just 1 win. Mazzoli starts out from the 30-yard line. And he's brought down at the 46. So pretty good field position for the Ticats. Don McPherson after that 16-yard kickoff return by Mazzoli. Joe Paupau, the former quarterback with the BC Lions and the offense coordinator, devises the game plan and calls all the plays for either Danny Barrett, who has the sequence taped to his left wrist, or Danny McManus.
The great thing about Joe is, even though he on his title it says he's a coach, but he's one of the boys. He can sit down and he's one of the guys. They feel very comfortable about talking to him about anything, and they have a great relationship with him and the quarterback, and particularly everybody on that team.
Sean Millington limping off after making the tackle. 1st and 10 from the 46-yard line. Toss to Perkins, caught from behind by Tyrone Jones. Jones had his best game of the year against the Ottawa Rough Riders. Coach Ritchie was saying if he comes up with a similar performance tonight, you'll know that Ty Jones, once one of the feared linebackers in the league, is back.
He's back, and you're right, exactly. An earlier part of the season, you know, to his credit and to his defense, Ty was playing hurt. He had a very serious shoulder injury. He was playing with some serious flu complications that had dehydrated him, ran down all of his strength and everything that he had. So now Ty, in the past couple of weeks, is starting to play like the Ty Jones that we have seen and we've known and grown to love, huh?
Well, the Ticats have had a rough year as far as injuries go. If Perkins is out for any length of time, it could be a major problem. Veteran trainer Ray Jones, who had some injury problems of his own to deal with when he was knocked down at the bench in the game on August 28th against Winnipeg, comes out to look after Bruce Perkins. Appeared he got his ankle twisted on the tackle by Jones.
Well, as it did when Ty grabbed him in, that ankle planted, and then Ty fell on the back of it. Now, when you're playing on AstroTurf, there is such good traction that the one thing that gives, it's not the bottom of the shoe. It turns out to either be a bone or a ligament. In that case, it looked like it was the ankle that gave, not the footwear.
Perkins comes to the sidelines very slowly as Dave Donnell goes into the ball game. 2nd and 15. McPherson throws to the sidelines. A pretty good job by Burbage coming back to make the catch on Les Brown. And he did a fine job of shielding the ball from Les Brown.
Sprint, throwback. McPherson just gets nailed a couple of times. Those big defensive linemen of BC's, again, letting them know that they're in the vicinity and around, and he's not going to have a cakewalk. The old veteran Les Brown just stood back there, let Burbage make his cut, and then cut back toward the quarterback. He had to go back to make the play, and in that case, Les knew that he was short of the first down, and all he had to do was make the tackle, put it in a punting situation.
Turner and Philpott await the 3rd down punt by Paul Osbaldiston with 10:49 remaining in the first half. Direct snap to Joey Young. Big hole. Well, the Hamilton Ticats caught the BC Lions flat-footed as Joey Yock took the direct snap for 25 yards to keep the Hamilton drive alive.
Good play inside. This was a play that we saw last night. The Edmonton Eskimos used against Calgary to no avail. Calgary shut it down. Direct snap to Joey Yock just on the left-hand side. Good upfield pursuit, and then all Joey has to do, he hits the opening, and he runs right to the safety. That's the return guy, Lonnie Turner, coming up to make the tackle.
Dave Donnell, who came in as a replacement for Bruce Perkins, did a good job of making a block at the line of scrimmage, enabling Yock to get through. Movement at the line of scrimmage. This is going to be called before the play can get underway.
They team up like that and start dancing around. You better start playing some music. There's a lot of movement there.
Illegal procedure. Number 62 on the offense. First down repeated.
Pete Giftopoulos, who has converted from linebacker to offensive lineman, was called for procedure, and that has really incensed John Gregory. Boy, he's got his emotions hanging out tonight, hasn't he?
And justifiably so, I think, on that call. BC came up there. They were going to come with the heat, and they jumped across the line a couple of times.
David Donnell is stopped after a pickup of just a couple of yards. James West from his middle linebacking position, and Glenn Scribner combined to make the tackle. Assistant coach John Bonk, for a number of years, an outstanding lineman with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, in charge of Hamilton's offensive line. You had some memorable battles with that man, didn't you, Dan?
Talk about dancing with that guy. We had cards filled all the time. Very physical ball player.
Complete to Winfield, and he's going to be about 2 yards shy of a first down. But McPherson is not a drop-back type of quarterback. He's most effective when he can roll out of there and find an Earl Winfield in the open.
He certainly is. If he can sprint out and force the corner and be able to buy some extra time, then he's got an opportunity to look at his receivers downfield and get a full vision of what's happening. It's very important for Hamilton to really get this guy, Earl Winfield, involved in the offensive scheme. You've got to get the ball to him because he can make a lot of things happen for you offensively.
Paul Osbaldiston will be attempting a 32-yard field goal with 9:09 remaining in the first half. Rodriguez Osbaldiston's kick is up and good. Now, this might be an offside call against BC. That is the call, so the Ticats have the option of the points or keeping the drive alive.
BC Lions, they do a great job right here as far as being able to. Hamilton turns out, and then they go down from a 2-point stance into a 3-point stance. Let it run, and then you see Glenn Scribner jumps offside. Okay, and as he jumps offside, that's a called play. They get to continue the drive.
They had the option of the points or the drive, and they may have wished they had taken the points because Eddie Taylor intercepts the Don McPherson pass. And the BC Lions have it 1st and 10 at the 20.
McPherson has plenty of time to throw the ball, but then he just throws the ball late. Excellent coverage by Eddie Taylor that time. Right on Burbage. As far as the break was made, the ball was thrown behind very slightly. Eddie Taylor doing a great job of concentration, looking the ball in for a big pick.
So the Lions, with 8:40 and the clock running remaining in the first half, take over 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line as a lucky fan gets a souvenir of this football game courtesy of Eddie Taylor. Flutie will have another BC first down, brought down by Derek Kelson. Barrett has done a pretty effective job of spreading his passes around in tonight's football game.
Well, I think he's showing that experience that he has. The reason that the BC Lions have had good success moving the ball against most of the opponents is the sense that he is spreading it across the board. So from a defensive point of view, you don't know exactly who you're going to double team or where you're going to concentrate primarily on, because everybody's catching the ball, so you have to play it fairly safe and fairly vanilla.
Darren Flutie with one 100-yard receiving game this year against Calgary on the 27th of August. And this is Matt Clark, who Barrett was looking for, but he overthrew him.
Fakes the hitch screen. All he's going to do is just pump it inside and then allows Matt Clark to run straight down the seam. Flutie is on the outside running straight down the seam. And they both are all by themselves. All he has to do is try to play pitch and catch. Danny Barrett just outthrew the ball that time. Receivers were wide open.
Alexander was the man he was attempting to get to on the sidelines. Even had he made the catch, he would have been out of bounds, so the Lions are forced to kick it away with 7:23 remaining in the first half.
Get a good look at Ray Alexander. The communication is he pointing to himself, his chest right there. He says, that's my bad. That's my fault on that pattern. Ray may have cut it a little short, may have took it a little too deep.
Winfield and Burbage await the third down punt by Lou Pasaglia. Burbage takes it at the 35. Pretty good coverage by BC. And Burbage has nowhere to go, brought down at the 41 with 7:01 left in the half.
I think everyone agrees the CFL needs a strong team in Toronto, the league's biggest market. Now the Argos, after a 1-9 start, have turned to veteran head coach Bob Obilovich to get it. They fired 3 people yesterday, and new CEO Ron Barbaro is named OB as the head coach and GM. The principals in that story will both join us on Live at the Half, and we'll also preview the Saskatchewan-Winnipeg rematch tomorrow at Winnipeg Stadium, where Don atmosphere is guaranteed. They'll have a record crowd of 34,000 on hand.
Inside shovel pass intended for Dave Donnell, and he could not hang on. Yes, they had over 30,000 for the Labor Day weekend battle at Taylor Field, and I understand there'll be about 34,000 at Winnipeg Stadium tomorrow afternoon.
Big matchup. Just the inside again, as you said, a shovel pass to Donnell. All he did was lose his concentration. Needs to look that ball in. That takes a little bit of that heat off of the BC Lions. Hopefully they have to start respecting what the Hamilton Tiger Cats can do in some of those trick plays, and they won't be able to get up the field so quickly with their defensive rush.
McPherson throws deep. It's intercepted by Andre Francis. And Rare saw that the ball was going to be way over his head. He gave up on it, but Andre Francis did not. Now he pitches it out to Les Brown. Boy, give Andre Francis a lot of credit, because he could have given up on that long throw by John McPherson, but he was determined to go after it.
It's a good thing. He's always concentrating. His eyes are in the backfield. He sees the ball release right there, and he saw that Winfield has just broke to the out. There's nobody behind him. He makes a great effort. Now, here's where the problem comes. Here's an old vet, and then all of a sudden, he gives the ball up in the air. I can guarantee you that Coach Ritchie's having a small conversation with him on the sideline about that. All you got to do is tuck the ball, get up his men, get as many yards as you can, then let my offense take over.
1st and 10 from the 43. Barrett avoids the pressure. He throws complete. And Darren Flutie has another reception and another first down. He was driven back about 3 or 4 yards, but before the contact by Lonnie Finch, his progress had carried to the 31.
Barrett behind does a great job of avoiding Tim Cofield, but then you see how Flutie does. Makes the separation, comes back toward the play. But right here, Danny Barrett, whoa, takes a shot, but he just throws that ball out there on a frozen rope to Flutie. Great pitch and catch combination.
5:22 remaining in the half. Flutie lines up wide left this time. Alexander to the right. 4 receivers left. Sean Millington, the ball carrier, and he is stopped at the 27-yard line by middle linebacker John Moten. Talk about the talented array of receivers the BC Lions have. Sean Millington this year has had the best passing performance against Toronto. 6 catches for 184 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Again, he had some of those little screen passes, those dump plays that he did, and as soon as he caught those balls in that game, he just ran. He ran for 40 or 50 yards before anybody laid a hand on him.
Of course, that night, August 12th, everybody, including the water boy, I think, was making catches for the BC Lions. Ray Alexander to the 5.
Great concentration by Ray Alexander. Runs the post pattern. Danny Barrett sees the safety starting to poach up into the middle. Ray breaks it right behind him into the post. Good concentration. Takes it up high, catches the ball, shields his body between he and Lonnie Finch.
Lonnie Turner had started into the ball game thinking that Ray Alexander was hurt, but Alexander waved him out. He stays in the ball game. It's 1st and goal BC from the Hamilton 5-yard line. Incomplete off the hands of Darren Flutie in the end zone.
Danny can't believe it.
Neither can Darren Flutie.
He knows exactly. He made the quick hitch right there. He's got the slot back from the inside, breaking to the out. Now Flutie breaks to the post real quick. Boom, hits him right in the chest. Something that you won't see very much. Danny Barrett, he knows he's got a touchdown. Then he's got to look back and go, whoa, whoa, what happened?
Darren and brother Doug talk on a regular basis. I'm sure if Doug's watching tonight, he might have something to say to Darren about that one.
Better that be Danny Barrett throwing the ball than Doug Flutie throwing the ball to him.
2nd and goal from the 5. Handoff inside. Millington touchdown. You know, in all 3 touchdown runs by the BC Lions, first 2 by Corey Philpott and then Millington, they made it look easy. They had big holes to run through.
Well, those guys up front are just doing a great job. They spread the offense across the board. Good quick trap play that time by Rob Smith. All he has to do is make one little contact block. Sean Millington has broke the line of attack and the point of attack. He's right into the end zone. Great speed.
3:15 remaining in the half. Lou Casaglia adds the point after. The big difference thus far in the ball game, when they've had opportunities, BC has put it in the end zone. The Ticats haven't. Well, Dave Ritchie has to be much happier with the play of his football team tonight at home than he was last week in the nation's capital. He celebrated his 55th birthday in Ottawa, had a lot of family and friends there, but he considered himself and the Lions lucky to leave with a victory. Following the interception, 5 plays, covered 43 yards for the major score by Sean Millington. All 3 touchdowns rushing, but it's been the passing of Danny Barrett that has set them up.
But it certainly has. The fact that they've been able to sustain drives by getting the ball downfield, throwing the outs, running the ball when they have to between, say, the 20-yard lines, and then going deep into these zones against the Hamilton defense. And then once they get it inside the 5, they know exactly where. They can smell that goal line, smell that red zone, and they end up completing their drives.
Burbage takes it out of bounds at the 40. 3:06 remaining now in the first half. That was only a 4-yard return, and that's something that Pasaglia has been doing so well this year. As we mentioned earlier, he has been placing the football on both punts and kickoffs.
But it certainly has, and as you said, his percentages and his averages are not really indicative of how well he's been kicking the ball, because he's been kicking the ball exactly where he wants to kick it. Sometimes kicking it deep and kicking it the longest is not the best.
McPherson for Mazzoli on the sidelines. They rule that he made it before being taken out of bounds by Eddie Taylor.
Oh, it's a great
2:49 remains in the half.
Yeah, I'm saying 30.
Well, you probably can't say enough about the BC offensive line, but why not let me try? It's stacked with veterans, a couple of award winners in Jim Mills and Rob Smith, 53 years total experience. By contrast, the Ticats have 21 years total experience on the O-line. John Gregory admits his line has been a bit of a concern. Dale Sanderson in the center, 9-year veteran, is the anchor of it. Consider this, Don, the Lions have given up 16 sacks versus 31 by the Ticats this season.
Yes, the number of sacks the Ticats have given up and their lack of offense has been a problem. And drop passes have been a problem on a couple of occasions tonight, as Joey Yock was unable to hang on to the throw by Don McPherson. So John Gregory is again forced to send out the punting unit.
Well, that offensive line just hasn't had the number of years that and the luxury of having that cohesiveness and being able to line up game in and game out with the same people. It takes a while to get to know those guys right there. All of a sudden, you get a guy like Giftopoulos, who converged from a linebacker over to an offensive tackle, has only been playing offensive tackle for about 7 games. And you can't expect him to know as much as some of these guys on the other side of the ball, BC's offensive line, would know in the 13 or 14 years that they've been playing.
Lonnie Turner looking for some blocking, loses the football, picked up by Donnell. He'll get into the end zone. Dave Donnell also knocked the ball out of the punt returner's hands, and he takes it into the end zone for a major score.
Dave Donnell, not slated to play a lot in the backfield, comes in with the injury to Perkins, and then now shows his great attitude on the special team. Works extremely hard. Lonnie Turner's trying to get to the wall, and he makes a good thing, but Donnell comes in with a good, quick right arm, slaps the ball out of his hands, and then has the sight to be able to pick it up, running into the end zone for a big 6 points for Hamilton.
Well, his intent all along, as you saw in the replay, was to try and knock the ball out of Turner's hands in making the tackle. He succeeded and got an ideal bounce to take it into the end zone, and the Ticats have their first touchdown of the night as Paul Osbaldiston adds the extra point.
Well, never being a punt returner in my life, only because I was too slow. But the only thing that I could see that Lonnie Turner may have done wrong was when he was carrying the ball. He was carrying the ball on his right arm, and that was toward where the contact was going to come. Most of the time, that ball is going to be in the left hand, outside where exactly that a defender cannot come in and be able to slap it away quite that easily.
The Ticats have only scored 15 touchdowns this year, including this one by Dave Donnell. 3 of them have been by the defensive unit, 1 on a punt return, and now this one on a fumble return by Donnell. So that means the offense in the 10 games, 10 and a half now that they have played, have averaged 1 touchdown a game. That's not enough.
But it's not enough to win in this league, and unfortunately, I think they're their record is fairly indicative of that. But hopefully they're willing to make the changes and trying to work as hard. And I'm sure that every day they go to practice, they go there to put in a full day's work to try to get better and better.
As I mentioned earlier, this is the only man with a kickoff return for a touchdown this year, a 91-yard run back, but Corey Philpott is surrounded at the 36-yard line, a 23-yard return. One other game tonight, Sacramento is entertaining Ottawa. Scott, have you got some information?
Actually, Don, that game is starting an hour past this one, so they're just into the first quarter. But let me put it this way. As we get the info, we'll certainly pass it on to you, because withholding it is not the nature of our business.
And tomorrow we'll have action coming your way from Winnipeg Stadium, where the Blue Bombers entertain the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and they'll be playing that game before a sold-out crowd at Winnipeg Stadium.
That will be one heck of a gang fight tomorrow.
Barrett goes to the sidelines for Alexander. First down at midfield.
And it's just as you brought some attention to earlier in this game, right at the onset of it, Don. The fact is, if there's any suspect considered about the Hamilton defense, may be in their secondary. And Danny Barrett is starting to dissect this one pretty daggone good.
Alexander has had 3 100-yard receiving games this year against Saskatchewan, against Calgary, and against Ottawa. Matt Clark to the 50-yard line. That'll be a 5-yard gain, caught there by Terry Wright. Ryan Hansen receives some information from the spotters booth via the telephone.
Take a good look at Cofield trying to work really hard, but the two things that happened there, one thing is Danny Barrett is lined up in the shotgun. The second thing is that offensive line is working extremely well, so he's got even more time than he normally would have.
Wide open, Trevathan! He loses the football, but it occurred as he hit the ground, and the play had been whistled dead. A 28-yard pickup for Mike Trevathan. Trevathan now has 79 yards on 4 catches.
Danny does a great job that time of sprinting out to his left, but then when he wants to throw the ball, he turns and gets his shoulders really good in parallel and starts moving toward the line of scrimmage. Trevathan just came out of the slot position, ran a little post flag route, and it's an easy pitch and catch. Really soft secondary right now for the Hamilton defense.
And Barrett is getting excellent protection. Philpott puts a move on Wright. Loses the football, and it's knocked out of bounds by the BC Lions. I think it may have been Darren Flutie who got over to knock it out of bounds.
Let him in here. What do you want?
Philpott just coming out of the backfield, and all he's going to do is one-on-one with Terry Wright, the outside linebacker. Terry just over-pursues it. Philpott has some great foot speed, but then Terry Wright doesn't stop. He keeps coming back, strips the ball loose, and if I look real closely, that's Darren Flutie. It's exactly. Good call, Whit. Comes back from, he was all the way in the end zone, and all you have to do is touch that ball. The last touch retains possession, and the BC Lions have it 1st and 10.
1st and goal, actually, from the 8. Intended for Alexander, incomplete. One of the few times tonight that Barrett has been dumped in the seat of his pants. He took a hit earlier from Roy Hart as he was throwing, but in that play he was attempting to go deep into the end zone. He's had pretty good protection most of the evening.
Well, if the philosophy still holds, then back in the old days, when linebackers blitz, then the receivers go and you replace the linebackers from where they vacated that spot. And that's what Danny Barrett was trying to do. He saw the blitz coming, just trying to work the quick hot route, the quick slant for a touchdown.
Barrett is going to look into the end zone. He's got Clark wide open. Well, the Lions may have given up a fumble for a touchdown, but they respond very quickly with one of their own by Matt Clark.
Again, plenty of time to throw the ball. Danny Barrett's got full vision down the field. This is that post corner route that they had some success earlier, Ellen. Comes back and it's an easy, and there's a happy Danny Barrett.
Barrett's first touchdown pass of the night. And Lou Pasaglia converts. 33 seconds remaining in the half, and this could be a long night for John Gregory and the Hamilton Ticats. Gregory was so excited last week with his last-second win over the Toronto Argonauts, where Hamilton snapped a 6-game losing streak. But tonight, not many things have gone right for Gregory and the Ticats, including the loss of Bruce Perkins. They felt that Perkins would be able to run the football with some success tonight against the BC Lions.
Well, I first saw Perkins run the ball against Edmonton, in Edmonton a number of weeks ago, and he carried the mail extremely well. I think he almost had 100 yards rushing that night. So losing him out of that backfield has really changed the offensive game plan considerably.
Pasaglia has not been trying to kick it deep at all. He's been angling it into the vicinity of the 35-yard line, and Burbage has been carrying the ball, but he has absolutely nowhere to go. A 5-yard run back that time. Scott?
Well, Don standing by in Toronto to talk to us live. On Live at the Half tonight is Bob Obilovich. He's got about 9 CFL lives, I think. At least he's on his 3rd now as he's back with the Argos. One of the principals in the story yesterday that saw the Argos clean house, and we'll talk to Obi at halftime.
Look forward to hearing the comments of the former BC Lion head coach. He knows what it's like to have a team with just one win. He was in that situation at this time last year here in Vancouver. Oh, McPherson is hauled down. This is going to be a face mask call, I think, against Glenn Scribner. Scribner reached out and caught McPherson, but he caught him illegally.
Major foul, face mask number 72 on the defense. It's first down.
I was talking to Glenn Scribner yesterday about the way the BC Lions rotate the 3-down linemen. Tim Lorenz is in there right now, along with Scribner and Derek McCready. But Kent Warnock will also come in, and they make the decision themselves as to how they rotate. Burbage was the player that McPherson was looking for. So the 3-down linemen are in a constant rotation, but they'll be in for 2 or 3 plays and then indicate that they want a breather and someone else will come in.
Well, I tell you, it's a good plan. It's a great routine if it works, and it certainly seems like it's working for the BC Lions in a sense, because then they also always have a good, fresh pair of legs in there working on those offensive linemen who are playing every play.
The Ticats would love to get into position to score before going to the dressing room at halftime, and Burbage, with a 20-yard reception, may have provided them with the opportunity with just 14 seconds remaining in the half. McPherson operating out of the shotgun, and the ball is mishandled as they attempted to get it back to him, and it's recovered by the BC Lions. Derek McCready.
This is going to be really interesting to take a look at it if we can get the replay on this to see exactly what happened, because McPherson is lined up in the shotgun formation, and it all of a sudden, as Dale Sanderson snaps the ball, it looks like it hit the inside of his thigh or his knee and then bounced, and then BC, being a heads-up defensive team, just pounced on it.
On Labor Day against Toronto, it looked as though Hamilton had an opportunity to perhaps kick a field goal just before the end of the half, and they had the clock run out on them. Here, a missed snap results in a turnover, and it will be the BC Lions who will take the final seconds off the clock and go to the dressing room with a 17-point lead.
It just goes to show you, I mean, that's a veteran center. He's been there for 9 years. You just have to concentrate on every snap of the ball. Let's go down to Scott.
Well, Dan, the Lions and Ticats engage in a lopsided first half. You know, the league over, people are still buzzing over the broom the CEO of the Argos took to his front office yesterday. He'll join us next on Live at the Half. Back with you at BC Place for Live at the Half. I suppose it's the nature of this league. It always has a trouble spot or two. BC last year, Hamilton this year. But who'd ever have thought the Argos, with high-profile, wealthy ownership, would have become a trouble spot? Well, they managed it through a horrendous on-field performance. And yesterday, the Argos began salvage operations. It's been one mistake after another for the Argos. Virtually nothing has gone right for the team that only 2 years ago won it all. The season was barely underway when speculation began on the future of head coach Dennis Meyer and the future of the general manager. In the offseason, Mike McCarthy essentially gave up 8 players to get quarterback Tracy Ham from Edmonton. He knew he staked his job on the trade.
Anything you do is a risk, I think. You know, live for today, and if it works and we're in the, let's say, the Eastern Division Championship or we go to the Grey Cup, people say that was a great move. If we get smoked, I probably won't be here talking to you next year.
And Ham couldn't lead the Argos anywhere when he wasn't playing. On Monday night, Toronto fell to 1-9. This week, Ron Barbaro, a former insurance executive, took over as the team's new CEO. By yesterday, he had decided McCarthy, Meyer, and offensive coordinator Mouse Davis were all out. Bob Obilovich was in. Earlier, Barbaro spoke to us from his home at Niagara-on-the-Lake. Ron, they're often not the most appealing moves to make, but sometimes cleaning house the way you did yesterday in Toronto is the only way to restore the faith of the fans. Is that the position you found yourself in?
Well, Scott, my position was quite clear, and I announced my focus was on the fans and the focus was on the product. And when I checked all the surveys and the research that I'd come up with, the fans had lost confidence in the way the club was performing. Therefore, we had to make some positive moves in that direction, and I think we've answered that.
Bob Obilovich is qualified. There's no question about that. Yet many would say his hiring in Toronto is a regressive step. What convinces you he's your man?
Well, I disagree totally with that analysis because I had to deal with the numbers that were before me, and they were all positive. 3 Grey Cups, 5 championships. This is a man who knows how to win and take a team down the line into the playoffs. We think there is time for Bob to do it here.
The Argo owners have never achieved the kind of fan support they thought they'd get in Toronto. That's simply a fact. How will you get it for them?
Well, we'll work on it one fan at a time. We'll focus, and I've talked to the players, and they're willing to agree with me. If they have agreed with me that they will certainly work towards the goal of providing the entertainment that will have them come back out. And the media have been great, and that's what's important at this time.
Finally, Ron, this point, there has been a rumor that you could be heading up a group interested in buying the Argonauts, or if not that, perhaps establishing an equity position in the team. Any aspirations in those areas, or are you content to run the Argos for somebody else?
Now, there's two answers to that. Number one, the rumor's false. Number two, Bruce has given me an opportunity, if I want, at any time, to acquire an equity position.
Ron Barbaro, thank you for your time. Here's the man Ron Barbaro's put his faith in to salvage the Argos season and turn things around long term. It's Bob Obilovich's 3rd CFL life. He's standing by to talk to us live from Toronto. With BC leading 28-11, Live at the Half returns in a moment. The sun just beginning to set here in Vancouver as we continue with Live at the Half. We've been talking about yesterday's shakeup by the Toronto Argonauts. By modern standards, Bob Obilovich's previous tenure as head coach of the Argos was one of the longest in pro sport, 8 seasons from 82 to 89. His crowning achievement leading Toronto to the Grey Cup in 1983. For a time, he was on top of the Toronto sporting world. In 1990, he was hired to turn the BC Lions around in mid-season. He had some success, but paid a steep price for BC's failure to re-sign Doug Flutie and was fired at the end of last season. Yesterday, OB landed back on his feet, where he started as a head coach in the CFL in Toronto. In the CFL, he's known simply as OB. He joins us live now from Toronto. Well, OB, when you write your book, how are you going to describe this improbable return to the Argonauts?
Well, I guarantee it's going to be an interesting book, Scott, someday.
The run and shoot worked for you in 82 and 83 in Toronto, at least to a certain extent, but it was an unqualified disaster this year. Is it now dead in Toronto now that you're at the helm?
Well, Scott, in all honesty, when I first became the head coach at Toronto, we did some things relative to that offense, and I always believed in complementing some of the good concepts that are within this offense. And our offenses, both in Toronto and BC, still had some of those ingredients, and we'll continue to do the same type of thing. And I just think you'll see our offense be more diversified, and you'll see us do things better, hopefully, so that we can be more successful on the field.
I think the translation of that is that you're going to use an offense that is more suited to Tracy Ham's mobility. Is that right?
Well, I'm impressed with all the quarterbacks here. I've been around this business a long time, and the first thing I learned many years ago is you got to have a quarterback to win consistently. And I think we've got 3 of them here that are pretty darn good football players, and that gives us great depth at the all-important position. And I know that Tracy's excited about me coming into this situation as I am about working with him. And I like Reggie Slack and Mike Kerrigan. That son of a gun knocked us out of a couple other Grey Cups we probably should have been in.
Let me try and nail you down on this. You play next week tomorrow at Skydome against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You got a week of practice to get through, but are we on the right track if we suggest that Tracy Ham will be your starting quarterback?
Well, I think it's too early to, make that decision right now, but, I feel very strongly that, Tracy will demonstrate the kind of play we've seen him give the fans in past years. And I think we get on the field and he starts doing his thing. And, I think competition's good at all positions. And I think it'll make it for a very healthy situation. And I'm sure we'll be able to get competent quarterbacking because I know Tracy will rise to the challenge.
Quickly, Obi, we only have a few seconds left, but the beauty of the East Division, if you can call it beauty, is that even with only 1 win, you can still get into the playoffs. Is that the best thing you have going for you?
Well, hey, I learned a long time ago, you get in the playoffs and anything can happen. I remember in 1981, we were 5-11 in Ottawa, and Edmonton was 14-1-1. And we had them 20-1 at the half of the Grey Cup game, and Dan Kepley will remember that game well.
Okay, Obi, welcome back. Good luck, and we'll see you next week in Toronto.
Well, we're looking forward to it, Scott.
All right, let's turn our attention now to the second half of our CFL on CBC weekend doubleheader. Saskatchewan and Winnipeg tomorrow to play the Bombers to complete their home-and-home series.
From the 37.
The Labor Day weekend at Taylor Field, a second consecutive sellout. Rider pride bursting, but hearts were broken when Troy Westwood kicked the Bombers to victory. Tomorrow, the Bombers are hoping for a similar display of pride in their team in the form of a big crowd, and they'll have it. An all-time Winnipeg Stadium record, in fact, 34,000 already sold. And so the Bombers require an effort like last week's in Regina.
Just a good team effort. I was proud of the guys who never gave up. There was opportunities there where we could have, and we just kept fighting, and it worked out for us.
You can always say, oh, well, we should have won that one or we should have lost that one. Hey, if you're supposed to win, you would have won it, and we didn't do enough to win the game, so we didn't deserve to win it.
They'll have a record crowd of 34,000 at Winnipeg Stadium tomorrow. The fans responding to Winnipeg's need for cash and their winning record. Second half kickoff is next here at BC Place.
This is the type of evening in Vancouver where you kind of wish they could open the dome and play the game under open skies. Philpott with the kickoff return to start the second half. Philpott finds a hole. Runs out of room. Forced out of bounds by Dave Donnell down at the 35-yard line.
Special teams are teams of attitudes, and these guys here that are blocking for Philpott have the same kind of attitude. All I have to do is get my work done, get my job, get the block on the guy, and this guy may be able to get it in the end zone. Great burst of speed up through the seam. As soon as the crack opened up, he was able to hit it.
Philpott leads the league in kickoff return yardage, and he has also scored the league's only kickoff return touchdown this year. And he provides the BC Lions with instant field position to start the second half. 1st and 10 from the 35. Ray Alexander won't be able to catch up with the ball. He was bumping down the sidelines with Monty Finch. As you might expect in a 28-11 ball game, the BC Lions have a big edge statistically. And 3 turnovers have definitely hurt the Hamilton Ticats, although the Ticats did score a touchdown directly off a Lonnie Turner fumble.
Well, they traded off the touchdowns on one of those times, but I think the passing yardage is significant in the sense that Danny Barrett has had great success of being able to throw the ball against his defense.
3 receivers left. Barrett. Down at the 5 to Lonnie Turner. He'll take it into the end zone, but they rule he was downed at the 5. He made the catch in front of Ricky Royal, who was the DI for this game, but has been forced to play with an injury to Bobby Dawson.
Bobby Dawson got hurt early in the first quarter, and then they come back here. This is a pattern that we've seen a couple of times on the other side with Trevathan catching the touchdown pass. Just a post corner on the inside slot, and a guy like Turner has got tremendous speed. He's able to make that break, create the separation. The biggest thing is Danny Barrett has all day long to stand back there and throw the ball.
First and goal, BC from the 5-yard line. The Lions threatening to turn this one into a rout. Philpott has already scored 2 touchdowns. He's stopped on his try for a third by Michael O'Shea.
Mike O'Shea out of Guelph has a great penetration in there as he gets off the ball very, very quickly, able to get inside the block of Sean Millington and then get his hands around and make a good tackle against Philpott.
O'Shea holds the Guelph record for quarterback sacks, and he has made an impact in his rookie season in the CFL. The toss to Philpott. He won't get there. David Bailey makes the tackle after O'Shea forced him wide.
Toss play to the weak side. They spread out the whole receivers to the wide side of the field, to the left of your screen. Then they run it back to the other side. But David Bailey does an excellent job of fighting off the block of Sean Millington, keeping his outside arm and leg free, and able to pursue down the line of scrimmage. Came up with a big defensive play.
So Lou Fasaglia is asked to try and split the uprights for the first time tonight. Darren Flutie will hold at the 12-yard line. No problem for Lou Fasaglia, the CFL's all-time leading scorer. 12:21 remains in the third quarter. Both head coaches, Dave Ritchie and John Gregory, have a tie-in to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in that they served as assistants to Cal Murphy. And Cal Murphy will be on the sidelines tomorrow without the crutches, I understand, as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers take on the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the return engagement of that home-and-home series. Don McPherson has to improve his passing statistics. 40% simply is not good enough.
To get into if he can improve his play selection and also the execution, then that percentage will take place and take care of itself.
And his passing game isn't being helped by the absence of Bruce Perkins. Dave Donnell has taken over as the Hamilton running back. They have to get the ball into the hands of Earl Winfield, and McPherson has tried to do that tonight. He's gone his way 3 times for 76 yards.
Getting the ball to the wideout is complicated by the fact that this BC defense is really attacking him and not giving him enough time to set up and try to throw it to the outs.
Penalty flag as the pass is intercepted by Plummer. Plummer ran back into traffic and was stopped by McPherson. There was a penalty flag downfield, a 27-yard interception return.
They call could be holding against Hamilton.
Holding number 56 on the offense. The penalty is declining. First down.
Holding call against Dale Sanderson. The Hamilton center has had some difficulties tonight. A snap that didn't get to the quarterback, resulting in a turnover, and this holding call on a pass that was intended for Ken Abraire, intercepted by Bruce Plummer.
Ball thrown behind, just a poorly thrown ball as Ken Abraire breaks to the curl on the inside. But Plummer is concentrating on the ball, does a good job, tucks it away, and to his credit, there's McPherson in making the tackle.
McPherson coming into the game had only completed 40.4% of his passes and had 12 interceptions. Barrett to Trevathan. He's out of bounds with a gain of about 5 or 6, taken out by Tim Jackson. Trevathan is the only BC receiver who has not had a 100-yard pass receiving game this year, but he could go over 100 yards tonight. He had 80 yards in the first half.
Philpott sets up right at the line of scrimmage and just does an excellent job of keeping his balance, as that's number 94.
David Bailey.
David Bailey tries to leap up over top of him. Philpott maintains it, able to get Dave Bailey down on the ground so that quick out pattern can be completed.
Danny Barrett will keep on 2nd and 1, and he should have a first down. John Gregory will take his team to the airport immediately following the game. They'll red-eye it back to Hamilton to get ready for their next game against the Edmonton Eskimos on September 17th at home.
Well, that certainly won't be a field trip for anybody coming in, particularly after the way that Edmonton played against Calgary last night. A very strong offense and defensive play on the part of the Eskimos. And as I said, Calgary finally maybe have got the monkey off their back as far as having that undefeated season, and able now to really just concentrate on going in and getting the job done that they set out to do at the beginning of the season.
It'll be a homecoming. Damon Allen returning to Ivor Wynne Stadium as the quarterback of the Edmonton Eskimos for the first time.
Matt Clark can't hang on. There's a penalty flag in the play. Ricky Royal was defending against Clark.
We may look at the call being Lonnie Finch on the corner. Looked like he grabbed a hold of Darren Flutie as he broke to the post.
Referee Bud Steen, the man in charge tonight.
Deliberate forward pass interference, number 15 on the defense. It's first down at the 5.
A deliberate interference call puts the BC Lions in scoring position. 1st and goal from the 5. Can't hang on. Similar play to the one in which he scored a touchdown. Todd Wiseman, a former BC Lion, got over to deflect it away from him.
Right at the last minute, Barrett does a great job of getting outside. They're able to get a good block by Millington on Cofield. He lays the ball up there, and Todd Wiseman, just at the last minute, is able to get his left hand in there and strip the ball loose.
Todd Wiseman was with the Argos in '89 before the trade to BC. He was involved in the package that saw Matt Dunnigan move. And now, of course, he is with the Hamilton Ticats. Clark again. Barrett's a little upset with himself. He underthrew his receiver, who was being covered by Tim Jackson.
They come with their empty set as far as 3 wide receivers to each side of the field. And then Danny Barrett was in the shotgun. He had the match that he wanted. Was Clark against Jackson. Clark made an excellent play as far as making the break. Plenty of separation. And I think Danny Barrett would just like to have the pass back. It was a poorly thrown ball for Danny Barrett.
This is the second time in the second half that the Lions have failed to score. And they've been down at the 5-yard line. And Lou Pasaglia will try his second field goal of the night. And once again, he puts it through with 9:24 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Sunset in Vancouver, and now we've got something to report from out of town in Sacramento. Get to that in a moment, but first, obviously the Lions running away with this game at BC Place and at Hornet Field in Sacramento in front of 17,000 fans. Don, the Gold Miners leading Ottawa 17-7 in the 2nd quarter. Pringle on a 1-yard rush. Burgess to Daniels to tie it for the Rough Riders, but then the Gold Miners extended their lead on a 22-yard run by Mike Oliphant. And so the Ottawa Rough Riders at 2-8 now, with Gus up to 2-9.
But they're still very much in the chase because the Ticats and the Toronto Argonauts haven't been able to pull away. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have. The reception made by Earl Winfield, number 1 working against number 1.
Well, we talked about that battle earlier, and here you get Andre Francis just turns right at the last minute, gets his hands on Earl Winfield's chest. We'll see what that call is going to be.
Forward pass interference, number 1 on the defense. It's unintentional, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Obviously, Winfield made the catch but came down out of bounds, so the 10-yard penalty gives Hamilton a first down at the 45. Andre Francis knew he was going to be in for a rough evening going up against Earl Winfield. Dave Donnell breaks into the middle for a first down at the 49. Tom Europe made the tackle, a 16-yard gain, and the middle opened up when James West, who was blitzing, was caught out of position at a linebacking spot.
James West and Zach Allen came in on the blitz. Zach Allen gets a hand on Donnell right at the last minute, trying to meet him in the hole, was unable to bring him down. Donnell, to his credit, able to keep good foot speed and good leg strength, keep driving up for a big first down.
Tyrone Jones coming on the right side. He's picked up, and the pass is completed to Burbage for a gain of maybe 7.
Now that kind of play like that, when McPherson comes out, you can't draw it up any better. That's exactly the way it is. You sprint out, you turn your shoulders in, you get downfield, good route by the back, you throw the ball out there on the money, and there it is. It's an easy pitch and catch. This is what he's got to get more of, more consistency in executing those type of plays.
Ticats have only one win against a Western Division team this year. That was a 30-14 triumph over Sacramento. Penalty flag as Mazzoli makes the catch and broke the grasp of Eddie Taylor, and he takes the ball inside the 15. There was a penalty flag at the point where Mazzoli made the catch. It's an interference call
Illegal
against
contact on an eligible
BC.
receiver on the defense. Penalty is declined. It's first down.
Well, Dave Ritchie showing some concern at this drive the Ticats have been able to put together.
When Mazzoli came off on Eddie Taylor, he came off and then they turned and make the cut. Eddie Taylor gave him a little shot in the back, but then that pushed him and created more separation, and he was able to make that catch.
Draw play with Donnell, a couple of pretty good moves as he fights his way down to the 1. Boy, Donnell put a great move on a would-be tackler at about the 8-yard line. I think it may have been James West, a veteran linebacker that Donnell really sent going the wrong way.
Sprint draw inside. They get a good collapse block there. And then Donnell right there makes an excellent move on the safety, Europe.
The ball is at the 1. First and goal. Hamilton planned on running that sprint draw, but they thought they'd be doing it with Perkins. McPherson will keep. Touchdown. Well, there haven't been many occasions this year where the Ticats have been able to sustain a drive such as John Gregory has just witnessed, and he'll be pleased with this effort.
Well, he certainly will. And then my only thought would be, where was this in the first half? Because those are the same guys that are out there doing the same job. Just they came back, and in that time, the execution level has just progressed so much higher than what we saw in the first half.
6:56 remaining in the third quarter. Osbaldiston with the point after. A penalty flag in the play. Premature movement, I think, on the part of the BC Lions.
He's not going to come up.
No.
He's going to stay where he is. We'll hit him with that short stuff, because what does he start doing is sneaking when they go to that double, that 3, like that. We give him a sneak, we can get behind him. We start getting him thinking.
Well, the obvious question that people have been asking Don McPherson is, did he lose his confidence during the 6-game losing streak? And he said he never lost his confidence at all. He always felt he had the ability to throw the football, complete passes, and move the team. He hasn't really demonstrated that in the 2 games he's been back, although he did put together a late drive to win it against Toronto, and he put together a good drive here. But he said in his final year at Syracuse, he led the nation in all passing departments, so he has no reason to be concerned about his ability to throw the ball.
Well, as you mentioned, when he was at Syracuse, he majored in psychology. So he is very good at getting into people's heads and probably not allowing anything to get into his head. And it's worked very well for him so far.
Philpott takes the ball at the 12-yard line. Look out! Todd Wiseman with a touchdown-saving tackle. That's twice in this second half that Philpott has provided the Lions with instant field position. His second 60-yard return of the night.
Again, it's good attitude here as far as the blocking scheme, but then it just becomes second and third and fourth effort by this guy. And then once he sees that opening, he's got great speed. He bursts right up the middle. This is no Gizmo Williams right now, but he creates the same kind of excitement and particularly the same kind of field position that the Giz does for Edmonton.
Todd Wiseman, a lot of credit for sticking with Philpott. First and 10, the ball is at the 38. A solid hit by David Bailey on Corey Philpott. A loss of a couple of yards, and this is the type of defensive play that the Ticats desperately require right now.
Slow development draw play there, and then David Bailey with a great surge, great charge off the ball, gets into the backfield, makes a solid tackle.
Philpott may have been a little out of gas after that 60-yard kickoff return.
Yeah, that's what these guys love. They want to get the ball and touch it all the time.
The fake to Philpott. There it is. Flutie wide open on the sidelines. And that should be a first down. Taken out by Ricky Royal. I talk about a guy knowing where that forward marker was. He took it out right at the marker.
And plenty of time again. Once he comes out, he fakes the counter, kind of a draw play inside to freeze the linebackers. Then he breaks containment out, and there's nobody in his face. He's looking downfield. All he has to do is wait for the receiver to create that separation and then deliver the ball. Another big completion.
First and 10 from the 27. To the other side, Matt Clark with a gain of about 3, stopped by Tim Jackson.
They're playing that zone is almost like a 3-deep zone, and Jackson looks like he's responsible for the outside flat area. You've got Derek Kilson going over the top in the deep third. Just Jackson's the slow getting there, and as long as he's slow getting there, as long as those receivers, the inside receivers, are waiting out there in the flat, it's going to be an easy pitch and catch afternoon.
Barrett's having a field day. 21 completions, 31 attempts for 279 yards. Completion number 22 to Matt Clark. Clark's second touchdown. Gets his second touchdown of the night with a solid effort after making the catch to avoid a tackle and then battle his way to the goal area.
Ricky Royal comes in from the halfback position and comes on the blitz. Now, the way that usually takes place is when the halfback takes the blitz, the safety comes over and replaces him. So, therefore, he takes up the second receiver. Now, when he does that second receiver, obviously Todd Wiseman is slow getting there, and that allows him as far as to be able to get in for the 6 points.
Ray Alexander is the injured player.
Take a look at it right here. Now they're going to come. You got, this is Terry Wright. Royal's going to come from the outside here. You can't see a good picture of this right now, but right at the last minute, let's let it run. Take a look at it. Now Danny Barrett's got plenty of time. You can see Royal's right in his face, but then there, right here, stop just for 1 second if we can. You see, this is Wiseman. He had to come all the way over from his safety position, but by this time, this out pattern from this angle has already been run. creates the separation. Now all this Wiseman has to do, you've got to break down, make the tackle. Okay? Not much of effort on the tackle as far as I'm concerned. Lonnie Finch comes in right at the last minute, throws his body in there, but Matt Clark does an excellent job of getting the ball, smelling the end zone, and putting it in for 6 points.
Well, Clark, I'm sure, feels that he has redeemed himself after dropping an apparent touchdown pass earlier in this third quarter.
Well, he certainly has, and again, to the credit of Danny Barrett, this kind of thing, you want to really make sure that the confidence level of your receivers stays up. So if a guy knows he's going to drop the pass, you come back to him and show, hey, I still have faith in you. I'm going to throw you the ball. You do what you get paid to do, and I say just tuck it away, catch it, and then turn it upfield and see what you can make out of it.
Ray Alexander took a beating on the other side of the field, and he is very slow in getting to his feet. Probably just a little unsure as to what day it is or where he might be. He appears to be dazed more than anything else. Tomorrow afternoon, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who have an opportunity to all but wrap up first place in the East, are at home to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Chris Cuthbert, James Curry, and Mark Lee will be on hand to describe that one for you. This is actually a big weekend for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as they hold their 10th annual Hall of Fame weekend celebration, as Lou Pasaglia adds the point after. They'll be inducting players into their Hall of Fame, and we'll tell you about that when we return. Wherever you're looking in tonight, we hope you're enjoying the action from BC Place Stadium. The fans inside BC Place Stadium certainly are, as the Lions have really taken control, leading 41-18. I mentioned this is the Hall of Fame weekend for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Being inducted into the Bombers Hall of Fame are players Paul Bennett, Willard Reeves, and Ed Elmer, and builder Paul Quinton, a former team president. Pasaglia has been kicking off to this same spot on the field, and Burbage has not had anything more than about a 5-yard return. Scott?
Don, I guess you'd agree. In fact, you've made the point a couple of times tonight that Danny Barrett's done a good job of spreading the ball to his receivers, but it looks as though Ray Alexander won't be catching anymore. He had a rib cartilage problem a couple of weeks back that kept him out of the game against Winnipeg here, and the way he's holding his ribs right now, I'd be willing to say he's aggravated the other side. That, of course, is not a firm medical diagnosis, but you know, Don, the number of years I've spent on the sidelines here, I think I'm pretty much qualified to practice medicine, don't you?
Well, I think a pretty good clue came when they started lifting up his shirt and taking a look at the rib area.
You can't trick Scott.
No, never
you
fool
can't fool
Scott.
him as much as they try on the sidelines. You just can't fool him.
McPherson was looking for David Donnell.
And O.J. Brigance was looking for McPherson. And he was looking with some real intensity in his eyes.
4:03 remaining in the third quarter. 2nd and 10 Hamilton. Number 99, Ty Jones, has had success coming off the edge. This time they pick him up. Mazzoli can't hold on to the throw. He was being covered by Eddie Taylor. Gregory expected the Lions to try and come off the edge with O.J. Brigance and Tyrone Jones in tonight's game, and his offensive line has done a pretty good job of picking them up for the most part.
Well, when they do come off the edge that quickly, then McPherson has to know that he only has so much time to get rid of the ball. Now, his problem comes in when he holds on the ball too long, that sooner or later those guys are going to get up in his face. And they've had some success, but not nearly to the extent that they would like to, I'm sure.
Lonnie Turner lets this one bounce. And he has nowhere to go, taken out of bounds at the 38. Scott?
Well, Don, I would say that suddenly things are starting to look up in the CFL. How about that big crowd at Commonwealth Stadium last night? 53,000 plus to watch the Eskimos and the Stampeders. And in Winnipeg tomorrow, a major story brewing there as the Bombers have oversold the stadium. They'll have an all-time stadium record crowd of 34,000 people there. And here at BC Place tonight, they were hoping for a crowd of 30,000 people. It's pretty clear they don't have that many. I would guess somewhere around 25,000 if they're lucky. But the story is this: after Labor Day, the crowds have begun to pick up, and all of a sudden this CFL is a pretty lively corpse. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, there are a lot of people who think that the season should not start until later in the year, expressing the opinion that early July is too soon for football to begin. Lonnie Turner makes the catch. He's in there as a replacement for Ray Alexander, and he showed tremendous concentration on the flight of the football.
An excellent job. That they thought it's a 59-yard reception in the point where they were hoping to get him into the offense as a 5-pack, as some back coming out of the backfield to utilize, obviously, his catching ability and his speed. And here's where he shows his great speed right there. Blows by Derek Kelson just for a second, and that's all it took was just that one step. Kelson had some pretty good coverage on him, but good concentration by Turner on that reception.
1st and 10. The ball is at the 22-yard line. 41-18. The BC Lions lead. Sideline pattern again. And Darren Flutie has another first down.
Smart call by Danny Barrett that time. Again, he comes back. Now he puts a different receiver. That's Darren Flutie out on Kelson, who just got finished doing about a 60-yard sprint with Lonnie Turner. Got to be a little winded. Now you come back and run another pattern right against him again, and you get the completion.
The ball at the 9, and Barrett looked over to the sidelines for help from Joe Pau on this call. Four receivers. Wide right, handoff inside, football. Stopped at the 1. Michael O'Shea made the tackle. Philpott thought he should have had his 3rd touchdown of the night. O'Shea thought otherwise.
Mike O'Shea just fell in out from his outside linebacker position. Inside, they spread the defense across the line again. All you have to do is break the initial plane and the point of contact, and then all of a sudden, there's Philpott running it down. O'Shea tries to close as quickly as he can to stop the touchdown.
What play has Pau called? Why not? Corey Philpott.
Talk about the Danny Barretts, and you talk about the Ray Alexanders and the Trevathans and the Clarks and the Philpotts, but then all of a sudden you get up there and you start mentioning the names of Stevenson, Smith, Sinclair, Groenwegen, Mills. These are the guys that are getting the job done. As long as that front wall is that solid up there, this is going to be a team to reckon with in this future this season.
Lou Pasaglia adds point number 48 with 44 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. A 3-touchdown performance tonight by that man, Corey Philpott. And that's something the Lions have been able to do, put together those long drives. That time, 71 yards in just 4 plays.
Good burst, and the big thing is that you just hand the ball off deep to him, let him get up there, and then at this time, rather than running it across like he had the past 3 times, then he just gets airborne and gets into the end zone. James comes over and says, hey, kid, that's a good way to do it.
Barrett is now 24 of 34 for 360 yards. The Lions have had tremendous success this year against teams from the East. They have lost just 1 game. And it looks as though they're going to improve their record to 6-1 tonight. Their only loss to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And Dave Ritchie was saying they were a tired football team when they played Winnipeg that evening. That was the second half of an Eastern doubleheader.
That certainly is. That was after one of those road trips from hell.
This time, Pasaglia kicks it the other way from Mazzoli, but again, excellent downfield coverage by the BC Lions.
It doesn't seem like it's just quick. Up and down. I'm going to have to. Okay. Thank you.
Coach upstairs probably said, nice catch, do it again. And Lonnie, being a polite young man, said, thank you.
That's Eric Tillman in the middle of there on the right-hand side. That's Jeff Reinbold. And then the coach on the left is John Shurka, the linebacker coach.
James West came up to make the tackle on Don McPherson. And Nick Mazzoli and Eddie Taylor are now involved, and it draws a penalty flag. That all took place after the play had been whistled down.
The West came up and made the tackle on McPherson, and then Mazzoli comes over and makes a little push on Taylor.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, number 17 on the defense, first down.
Don, another update from Hornet Field in Sacramento, where Tom Burgess has taken it in himself to draw the Ottawa Rough Riders poster, 17-14 Gold Miners now. And here's a point to consider about this game. One more touchdown, and it looks as though with a quarter to go, the Lions are a good bet to get it, Don. They'll tie their single-game record of 55 points. They matched it already once this season. They may even break it tonight.
Dave Donnell is jarred loose from the football, but it was ruled that the play was down, and that is the final play of the third quarter. We'll be back after this.
There's a really good look at Bill Comrie, the owner. And,
well, not a really good look.
Well, it's kind
nice view of the back of his head.
No, that's his good side. I promise you. I know Bill pretty well. That's as good as Bill's going to look.
The president of the BC Lions has to be very happy with what he's witnessed on the playing field tonight at BC Place Stadium. McPherson fakes inside, throws for Winfield, first down at the 51. Andre Francis came up to make the tackle on Winfield.
Just going back to Mr. Comrie there for a minute, but really, when he came to this team and bought this team, and he really brought in a lot of solid support, a lot of money, and these teams now believe in what he's done for them, and they're going out there and it's performing on the field. See some good stats there as far as, again, the big turnover ratio and also the time factor is always against Hamilton in this case.
Winfield makes the catch. He and Avrera running a crossing pattern. Some might refer to it as a bit of a pick play. Danny McManus had a rough outing against the Ottawa Rough Riders last week, throwing 6 interceptions. He injured the thumb in his throwing hand, and Coach Ritchie was saying that one of the problems he had against Ottawa, he was releasing the ball up high. It was not the usual dart that McManus throws. P.J. Martin into the ball game and battles his way for a first down at the 40-yard line. O.J. Bergrantz and Derek McCready made the tackle on the rookie.
Talking about McManus and his release as a quarterback, a lot of times you'll see the quarterback as he's following through, he turns his wrist over and turns it down toward the ground as a follow-through. And I'm sure that injury in this case for him doesn't allow him to get that full completion, that rotation of his wrist, so his ball will flutter a little bit as it comes off his fingers.
Penalty flag. Andre Francis working against Duro Winfield. And if that was the call, it will be a first down for Hamilton.
Deliberate forward pass interference. Number 1 on the defense. It's first down.
Well, if you're keeping a score right now, I think it's 3-0 for Earl Winfield in this battle here, one-on-one. He caught the really long pass in the second series of the plays. He got one pass interference call that was against Andre Francis earlier, and then he's got the second call now.
However, Andre Francis also has a big interception in tonight's football game. First and 10, Hamilton. Draw play with Dave Donnell. He spins his way to the 25. The ball came loose, and BC has recovered. Ty Jones alertly scooped up the football. And that's the type of night it's been for John Gregory's Hamilton Ticats.
Certainly is. He just comes back. It's inside handoff here. Just that same draw play that they've been running. The ball squirts loose. And there it is. The man right on the spot is Ty Jones.
I guess John Gregory should have known the type of night it was going to be when his team was leading 4-0. It looked as though Terry Wright had knocked down a pass attempt, and it deflected into the hands of Ray Alexander. And they went on to score a touchdown. Danny McManus is now in at quarterback. He didn't lose his sense of humor last week when throwing all those interceptions, as Corey Philpott is hauled down at the 30 by a high tackle by John Moulton. McManus had 3 of his passes picked off by Remy Trudel. He said, I was trying to make him an All-Canadian. He's a former teammate. Some fans, I suppose, thought that Moulton got Philpott by the face mask. I think he might have caught his shoulder pad.
It's quick toss play, and Philpott does a good job of cutting inside the block by Sean Millington. And then you see the middle linebacker coming. He's just trying to get his hands on him somehow, gets it up around the neck area and kind of yanks his head around. He didn't grab any cloth or grab a face mask.
Darren Flutie tackled by Lonnie Finch, but he's got a first down. McManus with an injured left hand. He was hurt in a game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers here at BC Place Stadium, a game in which the Lions won. And that caused him some difficulty in handling the exchange from center, but it no longer is a problem.
As you said, he was 9 for 27 last week for 179 yards, but the big thing is that he did throw 6 picks.
Mike Trevathan makes the catch at the 45. Tackled by Ricky Royal.
Good look at Bob Torrance on the sidelines also warming up, so we may see a quarterback change on the other side of the field. There's Philpott and O'Shea. Philpott, he's a gutsy performer. He's up against O'Shea, who comes in there 6'2", about 225. Philpott's cracking it at 5'9", about 185 pounds.
Barrett for Trevathan, and Trevathan squirms his way beyond the 50-yard line for a first down. He'll be very close to his first 100-yard receiving game of the season.
Good job as Danny sets up. He looks coming in, and that's number 94 again. That's David Bailey, who's had a pretty good game so far as putting some pressure on these quarterbacks. Gets up in the face and forces McManus to throw the ball quickly.
I think Trevathan right now is stalled at 99 yards in pass receptions. First and 10 for BC. Fake inside, behind Matt Park.
Then he came out from behind the center, made a fairly weak fake inside, trying to hold the linebackers, which didn't allow them to drop into their zone. He had the open area in between there and just made a bad pass through behind the receiver.
You never had many opportunities to experience this during your playing career, but when you're a Hamilton Ticat right now, 9:50 remaining in the game, the clock can't move quickly enough.
Well, it can't move quickly enough, but the thing is that now you're going out there and you're playing with some pride and some ego out there, that you're not going to let this guy across on the other side of the line beat you to death just because they're ahead. Go out there, show yourself that you got some pride, and get after these guys because you got to tee it up again next week.
While Cofield, number 2 in sacks, gets his first of the night as he tracks down Danny McManus back at the 34-yard line.
Well, it just tells you that's the first time that we've really had a good chance to talk about and mention Tim Cofield's name. It just shows you what a good job that offensive line of BC is doing for him. As I said, not only does he have the speed and the strength to fight off the blocks and get upfield, but once you start to scramble, he's actually got some good quickness and able to chase you down.
The BC coaching staff was talking about wanting to get big on big against Tim Cofield. They didn't want back having to block him.
Well, anytime that you waggle those backs up and try to sprint out that way, most of the times you get a mismatch with that big man on a small man. So they were packing big body against big body.
Burbage handles the third down punt. And he gets to the outside, but steps out of bounds. 8:55 remaining. The sun setting in Vancouver and on the Hamilton Ticats.
Here in Vancouver, the Lions' 8th win of the season is all but confirmed, and in Sacramento, the gold miners in Ottawa have reached halftime now, and David Archer's 39-yard pass to Joe Johnston has put Sacramento up 24-15 at halftime, Don.
Well, Danny Barrett is finished for the night, and it appears as though Don McPherson is also done for this evening as Bob Torrance has moved in to take over the quarterbacking assignment of the Hamilton Ticats. He had a couple of games in which he started late in August. His first pass incomplete. It was intended for Richard Nurse. And Nurse, as he was coming down, couldn't squeeze it. He was being covered by safety Tom Europe.
Bob Torrance is trying to make that arrival with some authority as far as coming out. I would suspect he'd come out, try to get some confidence, run the ball a little bit, maybe throw a little hitch pass or a little screen pass, get something going early. But no, he goes for the home run ball to Nurse.
8:30 remaining in the football game. 2nd and 10. Hamilton movement at the line of scrimmage. It looked as though it was an offside call, and Burbage was the man Torrance was attempting to pick up in front of the BC bench.
They may have caught Tim Lawrence right in the middle there on the snap count.
Offside. Number 95 on the defense. 2nd down repeated.
Have to search a long way to find number. Well, I don't think we've got a number 95
well,
playing
they called out
defense.
95 as McNeil, but McNeil's not on the roster for this game.
So I think you were right the first time when you said it was Tim Lorenz. Dave Donnell with a good hole. He's going to go all the way unless Tom Europe can catch it. A 63-yard run for David Donnell. Young man out of Burlington with his 2nd touchdown of the night.
Good block inside there, and then all of a sudden you see him. He good quickness as he burst through the speed, through the hole, and then Zach Allen just doesn't anticipate that guy's going to get through the hole that quickly. Does an excellent job of showing some speed, fending off Europe to safety, gets into the end zone. These are the kind of plays now when you're so far ahead that really will infuriate Coach Dave Ritchie over there. Being a defensive coach at heart, he doesn't want to see this happen. He wants to see his team play a full 60 minutes.
Paul Osbaldiston adds the point after with 7:39 remaining. Played junior with the Burlington Braves. He's got his 2nd pro touchdown. Dave Donnell didn't expect to see a lot of action tonight, but he came into the game as an injury replacement for Bruce Perkins, and he has certainly taken advantage of his opportunity to play. He has now carried 7 times for 98 yards and has scored 2 touchdowns. A 63-yard run for a major score.
Good block up front, and then a couple of missed tackles, and great speed by Donnell enabled him to get in the end zone.
I know a couple of weeks ago you had a big thing about nicknames. This is a short kickoff. It will be handled by Hansen. The Ticats trying to strip him of the ball, but he's able to hang on. You'll like Donnell's nickname, Danger.
Danger. Well, I like it. It kind of fits into what you're talking about. I won't get into the other nickname again. We've already played that one to death. But Danger, and he just showed it. Maybe right there. This guy is somebody to reckon with a bit. He could be very dangerous.
24,799 watching proceedings at BC Place Stadium. 48-25. The BC Lions leading with 7:33 remaining in the game. Danny McManus continuing at quarterback.
McManus has to come in here just not to execute a few things, but he has to sustain some drives and run some time off this clock, because really there is enough time for Hamilton to get back into this ballgame.
Sean Millington crosses the 50, brought down by Tim Jackson. Millington's big game of the year was back on August the 7th against the Edmonton Eskimos when the BC Lions went to Commonwealth Stadium and won the game. He had a number of good runs as well, called back in that contest.
Been very active. He's rushed the ball like 24 times coming into this game, for 93 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He's caught the ball about 20 times for over 300 yards. And the main thing that he does is that he's very, very key blocker in that sprint out series that Danny Barrett uses.
He struggled for the first down, vaulting over a pile of bodies, and he's rewarded, carrying to the 50-yard line. Tomorrow afternoon from Winnipeg Stadium, the Blue Bombers at home to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Better than 34,000. the largest crowd to ever watch a regular season game will be jammed into Winnipeg Stadium, hoping that the Blue Bombers can knock off the Saskatchewan Roughriders for the second straight week.
Well, we better tell Chris and James to get ready, because there'll be more people in the press box like they were at Taylor Field, because they were putting them everywhere.
Darren Flutie was the intended receiver, being covered by Derek Kelson. Yeah, Kel Murphy would probably sell some seats in the broadcast booth.
The only seat that he may not sell is the one that drives around in that little golf cart of his.
Well, we've got some extra room here at BC Place Stadium, but there's no need for Bill Comrie to jam people in here tonight. He'd love to have people filling every seat in this place, and if the Lions continue to play the way they have tonight, that may happen before the season comes to an end. Trevathan. He has his first 100-yard receiving game of the season, tackled by Tim Jackson. 22 yards on the pickup.
This is a bit of a tired defense also. That ball comes out and it's fluttering. It's floating a bit, but it still has enough time to get to Trevathan. But the main thing is that there's no defensive players reacting to that. No one around in the vicinity. And I don't know exactly what kind of zone that they were playing, but it looked like Tim Jackson should have been the guy that had a little tighter coverage to Trevathan.
Whether it's been Danny Barrett or Danny McManus, pretty much had their own way with the BC passing game. Matt Clark draws a penalty flag in the end zone. Ricky Royal is going to protest, but he won't get anywhere with this complaint unless it's another penalty call. And there it is. Bud Steen was not going to take any more nonsense.
It's going to be real interesting. Hopefully we can take a look at the replay of this going into the end zone of the first initial pass interference call.
Deliberate forward pass interference in goal. Number 26 on the defense. First down on the 1. Objectionable conduct. Number 26 on the defense.
So Ricky Royal compounds the Hamilton problems by drawing an additional penalty along with this interference call.
And he does with the right hand, as you can see right in a minute. He turned his shoulders, looked over his left shoulder, but his right hand kept a hold of the cloth. And when it did, there's where the interference call came.
So it's first and goal for the BC Lions from the 1-yard line. BC Lions, the most penalized team in the CFL. But this is a costly penalty for the Hamilton Ticats. McManus gives to the second man through, Sean Millington. And they rule that he was downed at the 1-yard line by Terry Wright. With help from Tim Cofield.
Tim Cofield really explodes off that line of scrimmage on the snap of the ball, gets his hands around it. Does an excellent job of saving that touchdown going in. You talk about the least penalized team in the thing. As far as that, then the Hamilton Tiger Cats are the fewest, has the fewest penalties in the league this year. They've only been penalized 95 times going into this game.
McManus will keep. And he doesn't get there. John Moak, the middle linebacker, stacked him up.
I only question a little bit at the time. You got guys like Phil Putt, you got Millington in the backfield, you got some power backs. Danny McManus is not known for his size or his stature or his strength in a sense. He's a quarterback. Hand the ball off to those guys that carry the mail for a living. They've done a very good job of it up to this point in this game, so why not keep giving it to them?
Dave Ritchie might be wondering the same thing. Third and goal. Philpott's got 3 touchdowns. But he's not in there. Millington leads the way for Ryan Hansen, and he's got it.
It's not by much, but it counts.
John Moten thought he was going to stop Ryan Hansen, but he just broke the plane.
John Moulton filling in off of the right side. Hansen gets the ball, but then what happens is, see, he gets in a trailing position behind him. So then, therefore, that allows Hansen to continue and kind of fall forward. If Moulton had enough time, the ideal way was to get up in that hole, get your head across in front of him, make that tackle, and then be able to drive him back and use your momentum to knock him away from the goal line, as opposed to getting behind him and having him just drag and fall over that extra yard.
And the BC Lions now have an opportunity to equal their most productive night of the season when they scored 55 points on August the 12th against the Toronto Argonauts.
Good play there again. I say Moulton gets up in the hole very quickly, just gets him around the leg, and it's barely in, but it still counts for 6.
3:05 remaining here at BC Place Stadium. This will be a long plane ride home tonight for the Hamilton Ticats. So twice this year, the BC Lions have scored 55, and they still have time for more. John Gregory is attempting to make a point with referee Bud Steen. He wasn't very happy with a couple of the earlier calls in tonight's football game. 2:59 is the time remaining. And this will be the first time this year that the Hamilton Ticats have scored first and lost a football game. Mazzoli takes it at the 21. Penalty flag. Spencer McLennan made the tackle, but I think the penalty call will be against those who pushed from behind as McLennan was trying to get into position.
Back now at BC Place, let me tell you what the Hamilton coaching staff is upset about, in particular John Gregory. Some fans have been running on the field, and the Ticat staff wants a flag thrown on the home team. How about Dave Donnell of the Hamilton Ticats, one of the few bright spots for them this evening? 2 years running in the late 80s, he was the outstanding junior football player in all of Canada with the Burlington Braves. Don, I don't want to get into nationalities. James West meant this innocently enough, but he said to me earlier in the game, "Who's that Donnell kid?" I said, "He's from Burlington." James said, "He's Canadian? Boy, then he is good."
Well, Darren Joseph of the Ottawa Rough Riders made really his debut here at BC Place Stadium a year ago. Ball dumped off to David Donnell, and he's brought down by Zach Allen.
It looked like Zach Allen and James West. James may reach over and whisper to him in his ear hole, "Hey, you're a pretty good Canadian."
And there's a Canadian at quarterback, Bob Torrance. Calling the signals for the Ticats. He gives the ball to P.J. Martin. And he gets up to the 39. It's almost an all-Canadian backfield now with David Donnell, P.J. Martin, and Bob Torrance calling the signals. Nick Mazzoli at a slot back position. Ken Averare at the other.
Good blocking at the point of attack right there, and it allows Martin to be able to get outside. Then he shows that good leg speed as Daniel Hunter tries to come up and really makes a good form tackle, sticks him high, keeps his legs working hard. He keeps him from getting any additional yardage.
P.J. Martin from Wilfrid Laurier. Movement at the line of scrimmage. I think McCready was offside. Andre Francis makes the interception, loses the football. Torrance gets it back at the 6. Well, I look down, don't see any flag, but I thought there was movement at the line of scrimmage.
Well, there definitely was movement in the middle of the BC defensive line. It was Derek McCready in line, and Bobby Torres just throws the ball out there, and Andre Francis has been baiting and laying in the weeds just long enough, and all of a sudden makes a great break on the ball, has an easy 6 points, and then just doesn't concentrate as far as tuck it away, and allows Bob Torrance to come back. Look right in the middle of your screen here. There's the movement right in the middle. No call is made. So I guess at that point, those officials are human also. They miss one every now and then.
Andre Francis with his second interception of the evening. The toss to David Donnell. And this time, Kent Warnock, another Canadian from Calgary, straightens up David Donnell with help from Scribner, who's a Canadian from Winnipeg.
Well, it doesn't matter whether you're Canadian or American. Those three guys up front for the BC defense are doing an excellent job. They play a really disciplined gap cancellation type defense. They get into that area, and then that allows those linebackers to flow and run and use their speed and make the tackle. And they're doing a great job of it this evening.
Draw play. And Donnell has a 100-yard rushing game as he gets up to about the 14-yard line before slipping. He's going to be short of a first down by about 1.5 yards. And with only 1:33 remaining in the game, Coach John Gregory sends out his punting unit. So this will be only the 6th time this CFL season that a running back has accumulated more than 100 yards. Bruce Perkins of the Hamilton Ticats, tonight Dave Donnell. Mike Richardson of Winnipeg has done it twice. Blaze Bryant, the other 100-yard runner in Winnipeg, and Mike Saunders of Saskatchewan has a 100-yard game. Lonnie Turner takes it on the run at the 48. He waited for his blocking to develop over there and then ran into one of his own players.
That's O.J. Brigance, who was really working hard. He's a little upset with himself, but it just shows you the kind of intensity this guy has. He's working extremely hard, trying to get back to make a key block right at the point of attack as he gets to the wall. And then Lonnie Turner cuts back inside, then makes another cut. You can see O.J.'s going for the two guys on the outside. And he catches up, they get tied up with Lonnie Turner. But there won't be anybody yelling at people about that because those are two guys out there really trying to make a lot of effort and trying to make something happen.
And another quarterbacking change for the BC Lions. Jason Verduzco is coming in to play quarterback.
A popular favorite here in BC Place.
He tosses the ball to Hansen, and Hansen spins his way to about the 28. Brought down by Terry Wright.
Verduzco comes out of Illinois, where in 1991 he was a Heisman Trophy candidate. And again in 1992, he was voted as Player of the Year in Illinois.
And this has been an opportunity for both coaching staffs to take a look at players who spend most of the time in a backup capacity. Ryan Hansen again. Good hole to the 15-yard line. John Moulton is there to make the tackle.
Again, excellent explosion and blocking. Just a quick little trap that time by Rob Smith inside. Hansen reads the block extremely well, cuts back across the grain, is able to get the ball up the field. Keep the drive alive, 1st and 10.
17 seconds remaining in the game. And Verduzco is going to take a knee. The fans don't like that. They wanted blood tonight. They want even more. Danny Barrett is the man who started the game and directed them to their big advantage before going to the bench with about 9 minutes remaining. And now Jason Verduzco is mopping up, and this one is over as soon as he takes a knee. So the BC Lions come up with an impressive 55-25 victory over the Hamilton Ticats as Danny Barrett's young son comes onto the playing field to share this victorious moment with him.
Joshua is his son.
The BC Lions now at 8-3 with 16 points. They are 4 behind the Calgary Stampeders. And the two teams will meet next Saturday night on CBC television from McMahon Stadium.
Here at BC Place tonight, the Lions offense dominates, and because of it, BC has a one-sided victory. A significant contribution to the effort from Corey Philpott. 3 major scores on the run tonight, a couple of big kickoff returns. This short 1-yard run through a big hole in the end zone, or into the end zone, padded the Lions' lead in the third quarter. Well, Corey, it is never easy, but it's made easier when you got an offensive line to play the way that yours did tonight.
Yeah, I got a great offensive line. I mean, those guys make the right block. You know, they tell Joe Powell sometimes, you know, let's run the ball, let's run the ball. They know I got great speed, I can hit the holes fast, and these guys just realize, they know that I can run the ball and get the ball in the end zone, and that's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to establish and run the ball.
There's been kind of a long story this year. You replaced Robert Mims, who replaced John Volpe, but I'm wondering if you feel as though this job is yours to keep now, the way you're playing.
Well, right now, I'm hoping that the job is mine. You know, I go out every day and practice hard and try to get the system down. And, you know, I come out here every day for a game and just run hard and try to put the ball in the end zone. And I'm just hoping as a rookie that I can keep on producing for the BC Lions and just go and be successful.
How about this Lions offense? 55 points on the board tonight to match your season high. Do you head into games thinking you have a prospect of doing that?
Yeah, we know that we can put points on the board. It just depends on us guys going out and just stepping up and taking care of business. You know, when offense is not blocking well and we're not producing well, then we don't score. But when the guys step in and do stuff, we score.
Developments of this weekend, your win combined with Calgary's loss. When you head into McMahon Stadium next weekend, it's the proverbial 4-pointer. Do you still feel as though you're in the hunt for first place? Because for the longest while, it looked as though it was the exclusive property of the Stampeders.
Well, with Calgary, they're a great team. I mean, they got a bunch of great guys, Doug Flutie and all of them. But I feel like if we go in and play our ball game, just step up a level higher than theirs, I believe we can come out of there with a victory. But one thing, we got to go in there and we got to play our ball, and we just got to go take charge.
Well, now it's a race. Congratulations on this win. Enjoy it.
Thanks, and I appreciate it.
Okay, Don?
Scott, I think you're absolutely right when you say it is a race, because now the Lions feel they have a shot at first place after Calgary's loss last night. And the last time the two teams met at McMahon Stadium, it was a close football game. BC actually had the lead on August 27th before losing 35-30.
And I think at the last minute, the last 3 or 4 minutes, that BC, had they changed 1 or 2 plays in there, had a good chance to win. The big thing now is maybe if first place is out of hand. If not, then the main thing you want to get at this time is a home game for the playoff.
Well, I think Coach Dave Ritchie has to be very pleased with the way his passing game worked so well tonight.
Well, I think it is. And again, it all went very well together. The offensive line did a great job as far as opening holes to run. And as long as your running game goes, it starts to open up your throwing game. And when Danny Barrett has that much time to throw the ball, he gets the kind of reaction and the kind of success that he had tonight, and that's a lot of pass completion.
He moved the ball around well tonight, and Corey Philpott not only scored the 3 touchdowns, but provided the Lions with some great field position with his kickoff returns.
Well, he certainly, this kid does it all. I mean, if Danny Barrett and McManus go down, he may go in and play quarterback also, but he does so much for this team. He has tremendous speed, and he's got, as you heard just in the interview with Scott, he's got a great attitude about playing, and that's about 90% of this game.
Well, the BC Lions have lost their 2 games earlier this year.